Three girls watching TV shows, and some of it's good and some of it blows. And when we finish the movies, yeah, we need a scotch, and we turn to each other and say, what did we just watch?
Actually,
Oh,
recording
recording.
in progress.
It's recording
Got
now.
it.
Okay.
Hello. Wow.
Hi.
Wow. It's been years. Hasn't been that long.
long.
Has it been a year? Probably.
Yeah, we did it. We stopped around 2021 in like the fall time. So it's almost been a year.
Wow. Well, we're back.
We're back. Wow. So many things have happened since then, but
Yeah. Should we give like a rose, a bud, and a thorn? Like a rose is something good that's happened in the past year. A thorn is something that like was challenging, and then a bud is something you're looking forward to.
okay. Do you want to start us off then?
Oh,
Since you suggested it.
okay. My rose is that I got a new job and I'm not
Woohoo.
as mentally unstable. Well, but like the job is helping. The new job is helping me be a little bit more level-headed. So that's my rose, and it's a really good grade. I'm teaching kindergarten, so I'm having a freaking blast. My thorn is that my cat and my mom died. So we're working through those. Did get a new cat though, so not as a replacement. And then my bud, something I'm looking forward to is Halloween because my best buddies are coming up to visit. And so is Rashad.
My bud.
Who's your best buddies?
Rashad and Emily and Kiana.
Fair.
I love how he's first.
He should be first for this one because we're gonna do a matching costume, so he belongs higher up the list.
I did not participate.
Then I
Very
should be
angrily
before.
so.
I should be before Emily next time.
Okay, next time we do this exact thought exercise, you'll be second. Who's next?
I can go next.
Okay.
My rose is that I graduated from my grad program with flying colors, and I was able to get a job right after that. So I've been working.
Nice.
My bud is that I'm living with my parents, but that's okay. It could be worse.
Is that your thorn or something you're looking forward
my
to?
thorn.
Okay.
My thorn is that I'm living with my parents. It might be. It could be worse. They let me do my own thing, so that's really nice. And what I'm looking forward to is the fall and holiday season because I really enjoy that time and it's gonna be great.
Yay.
I'm sorry.
I guess it's my turn, huh?
There's no one else.
Yeah, that's correct. My rose is that we are all settled in our new home. I live in Delaware now. So things have changed. We've been here like 2 months now. I was thinking today, which is crazy. And we're all settled. It's nice. I know. Yeah, we moved like the end of July. So yeah, September flew. Let's see. My thorn, I guess, is that I just like need to meet some more people in the new area because I do work from home, and so like need to get out there a little bit. I've been like trying to do some little things to get out there. I have started volunteering at the animal shelter, and that's been really fun. And then my bud, I was also gonna say Halloween because I am very much looking forward to that and seeing my pals and hanging out. But I guess I'll do another one too because Emma took that one. So my other bud is that I made an appointment to get my first tattoo, which I'm excited about, but it's not till January, so we have some time to wait.
It'll be exciting.
But yeah.
Wow, Emily, why don't you tell the audience who you're being for Halloween?
Yeah, that's a good segue.
Is this our segue? Well, I'm putting a lot of effort into my Halloween costume this year because I don't really know why. I've never really done that before, but like it's just
always
felt like
fun.
the time.
It's nice.
Yeah. And so I've decided to be Florence Pugh's character from Midsummer. So I finished the dress this weekend. I bought like
Oh.
a nondescript white dress from Target, and I have fabric markered it so that it looks like her dress with like the flowers and the weird patterns and stuff. And then I'm in the process of making a flower crown. So it's all very exciting.
Yeah, she has
That's really
been,
cool.
it's very like a very detailed dress. And the flower crown will be popping to finish, I'm sure. I kind of feel like you're in your
Awesome.
craft girl era.
I am. I really
Kind of been doing
am
a lot
in
of
my craft
crafts,
girl era. I've been like
Love a good
taking on new
craft.
skills.
but like it's exciting. I don't know. I feel like, and like you're
Actually,
like,
So domestic.
and you're kind of like, yes, I was about to say the crochet narwhal.
I learned how to crochet last month.
Bjorn.
Literally so exciting because I feel like when you're like me and you have ADHD, you're like, I could learn these things, but then I just never have the patience to like see any of them through unless I really like feel like I care about it. Like I've tried to learn knitting so many times. Like every time I'm like, no, this is the time I'll really follow through. But you followed through on like many of your crafts and they all look good.
Yeah. I'm trying to like give myself some grace too, because I think like growing up, like I did a lot of different art related activities, but it was always for like school or like there was some goal to it. Like, especially in high
Mhm.
school, I was doing like more like advanced art classes, and it was like you need a portfolio with like 24 pieces by the end of the year for like the AP exam. Like
Mhm.
that was like the mindset that I was doing things in. And then I like didn't do art for a long time. So now I'm trying to get into like it's okay if you like try something new and like you maybe do like 1 or 2 projects, then you try something else new. Like you don't have to like do the
Yeah,
same thing for forever. So like trying to
right.
remind myself of that.
That's hard
But it's been
though.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad. It's been fun to see your like, because Emily will like send us updates on her projects. So I'm like always excited to see like what her like what project she's working on. So it's been fun. Um, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
so the segue was that
yeah, sorry.
the
We
Florence
like passed right by this. Segment.
Yeah,
the
I'm
Florence
sorry.
Pugh
That's-
connection we're reviewing today. Don't worry, darling. So if you haven't seen the movie, this is your time to stop watching
Yeah,
this video.
you gotta stop
There
now.
are spoilers.
We're gonna
But
read the Wikipedia. Like we usually take notes, but we're not gonna
we
do
didn't
that.
watch it together. We all saw it separately. But
No.
we
Should we
thought it
talk
was
about our separate watching experiences? Because I feel like they were all
Mhm.
quite different.
I feel like after we do the
Sure.
Wikipedia read through,
Oh,
we can
okay,
talk
good
about
idea.
how that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, period. Period. All right. Queen Emily's gonna read us the plot summary from
Right.
Wikipedia.
I'm ready.
Go
And
ahead.
then I feel like I'll just read it, and then I feel like later we'll like unpack some of it, because I was reading it before we started the call, and a couple of things I was like, I would have worded that
Okay.
differently.
Alright.
I don't know. But
Okay.
anyways, we'll
Yeah.
talk about it.
We'll talk about it.
So here's the plot. In America, during an unclear time period, Alice and Jack
I'm sorry, that's not
Alice
cute.
and Jack Chambers. I know that's one of the things I have thoughts on.
In America.
Alice and Jack Chambers live an idyllic.
We need to get Emily needs to get the
Live
first
in-
sentence. Okay, we'll be quiet. We'll be quiet.
Okay. In America, during an unclear time period, Alice and Jack Chambers live in an idyllic neighborhood of the company town of Victory, California. Interesting, they call it a company town. I guess that is what it is.
They're in
Anyways,
California?
I'm gonna stop doing commentary.
Yeah, also, huh?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay,
That was
okay.
not clear to
Okay,
me,
we
but
should just I'm on mute myself.
anyways. Every day, the men go to work at Victory headquarters out in the surrounding desert, while their wives, among them Bunny and Margaret, stay home to clean, relax, and prepare dinner for their husbands. The women are discouraged from asking questions about their husband's work and told not to venture out to headquarters. Margaret has become an outcast after taking her son out into the desert, resulting in her son's apparent death, although she claims that Victory took him from her as punishment. While attending a party hosted by Frank, Victory's enigmatic founder and leader, Chris Pine, Alice sees Margaret's husband attempt to give her medication. One morning, while riding the trolley across town, Alice witnesses a biplane crash out in the desert. She rushes to help and stumbles onto headquarters, a small building covered in mirror-like windows. After touching one, she experiences surreal hallucinations before waking up back home later that night. In the following days, she experiences increasingly strange occurrences. She receives a phone call from Margaret, who claims to have seen the same thing Alice did. Alice goes to see Margaret, who slits her own throat and falls from the roof of her house. Before she can reach Margaret's body, Alice is dragged away by men in jumpsuits. Jack dismisses Alice's claim and says Margaret simply fell while cleaning the windows and is recovering. Gaslighting. This version is further corroborated by town physician. I had to add some commentary.
Okay.
I thought that was part of the Wikipedia. Sorry.
I don't know what this is.
It's true.
Gaslighting. Let's call it what it is. Okay, sorry.
Okay. This version of the story is further corroborated by town physician Dr. Collins, who attempts to give Alice prescription drugs. Alice becomes increasingly paranoid and confused, and during a special victory event where Frank gives Jack a special promotion, Alice has a breakdown in the bathroom and is comforted by Bunny. Alice attempts to explain everything to her, but Bunny reacts angrily, accusing Alice of being selfish. Sometime later, Alice and Jack invite the rest of the neighborhood, except Bunny and her husband Dean, to dinner, with Frank and his wife Shelley as special guests. Frank speaks privately with Alice in the kitchen, insinuating that she is right in her suspicions. Spurred by his confession, she attempts to expose him over dinner. Instead, and this is not commentary I'm reading, Frank gaslights her, making her look delusional to the other guests. In the aftermath, Alice begs Jack to take them both away from Victory. Jack initially seems to agree, but when Alice gets in the car, he lets her be taken away by Frank's men. Dr. Collins forces Alice to undergo electroshock therapy. During the procedure, she sees visions of herself in another life as a present-day surgeon named Alice Warren, who lives with the unemployed Jack and struggles to make ends meet. Alice returns to Victory and reunites with Jack, but continues to have hallucinations and flashbacks. She later remembers the whole truth, that Victory is a simulated world created by Frank, and that Jack has forced her into the simulation in the hope that they can lead a perfect life together. When Jack realizes that she knows the truth, he claims he did this for her as she was miserable in her real life. But Alice is enraged that Jack took away her autonomy. Jack hugs Alice, begging her to forgive him, then attempts to strangle her. Alice kills him with a glass tumbler. This is all just so matter of fact. I guess that's the point. Anyways, last paragraph. Frank is alerted to Jack's death and sends his men to capture her. Bunny finds Alice and explains that she has always known Victory was a simulation, but chooses to stay so she can be with her children who died in real life. She tells Alice to flee to headquarters, which is an exit portal from the simulation. The other wives begin to realize the truth as their husbands start to panic. Alice drives Jack's car toward headquarters, chased by Dr. Collins and Frank's men, who eventually crash into each other. At their house, Shelley, having had enough of Frank's abuse, stabs him to death. Alice makes it to headquarters, where she encounters a vision of Jack asking her to stay. Alice ignores the vision and rushes to the window just before Frank's men reach her. The sound of Alice gasping for air is heard. The end.
Okay, I have beef with this too, but we can talk about that later.
Frank stabbed to death? That's not what happened.
He gets stabbed once. Also, fed up with his abuse.
Yes,
so did they solve that? Right? Is that like clarified now? Because she was mad about his
No,
abuse?
I feel like this someone just wrote this and was like, well, this is what I think happened.
Yeah, also Violet was not mentioned at all. Weird.
The new neighbor?
Yeah, because I felt like that was like a part of the panic at the end. Anyways. Great job.
Thank you, Emily, for reading.
That was something. Should we talk about our theater experiences now?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. You go first, Kiana.
So my theater experience was unique because I saw it with my mother. So we were both like, wow, I got this movie seems like a train wreck from all the like controversy surrounding it before, but we love a good psychological thriller. We like movies that make us think. So we're like, why not see it anyway? So we go to see it. So like two scenes, the scenes that disturbed me the most was the scenes of Harry and Florence getting it on, and I literally was in the movie theater next to my mother being like, I cannot look at her because she's gonna be like, oh, and I'm gonna be like and it was just like us and like three other people in our movie theater. So there wasn't like anybody else
Ooh,
around us. So it really
that's
was just
awkward.
me and my mom
Yeah.
sitting watching it. And I was like, wow, this scene is
A little
long.
racy, a little racy. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
I was
long. One of
One
them,
was
I was
like a
like,
while.
okay.
yeah, like the first one with
With the dinner, right?
kitchen, yeah, the kitchen
Yeah.
table one. I was like,
I
she
felt
kind
on
of
that.
she kept pushing off plates. Like it wasn't just
yeah,
like one plate for
They-
dramatic effect.
She
kept
had plenty
knocking
of
off.
space.
Yeah.
yeah,
It was
And
a
she
big
like,
table.
"Ugh," and she kept
She
knocking
just
plates
made
off.
dinner for hours.
yeah. I was
Right.
like, okay, you're just gonna waste that roast that you've been talking about for days. And the other
Yeah.
one with Chris Pine being like,
Yeah, that was
and
not
she
That
was
was
just like,
I did
wild.
not like that.
so
I like how
that
she
was,
didn't stop. I like how she wasn't like, eh. She was like, oh God.
and she was like, well,
Like even
this is
after she
gonna,
left, he
This
left.
isn't
She was
anything I
like,
need to like
let's
ever
keep
talk about or
going.
think about again.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. You were there with your mom for those ones.
but other than that, my theater experience was pretty tame. It was just those two scenes that I was like, dear God.
Yeah, wild. I can go next. So my friend and I were like, let's go to like a late night show, like on a Saturday. We were trying to have like a chill, fun evening. So we go to this like little dive bar that we like across the street from the theater. And we got okay, so the reason that we got drunk, I'll say, is because we had tickets. Like we got there at like we got to the bar at like 7:30 or something like that. And we had tickets for 8:10. So like it really like if those tickets had worked out, then we would have been a normal amount, like one beer in or whatever. However, my friend didn't get the confirmation email for the tickets. So we were like, and she like called, I went to the theater and they were like, sorry, we don't have your tickets. So then we bought tickets to like the 10 something. So we were at the bar for a long time. We were there from like 7:30 to like 10 o'clock basically. Um, so we were a little drunk and I managed to stay awake because I think at like some point I like sobered up. Like once the movie started, I was like, okay, I actually want to
The
like
first going down scene, you're like, oh.
like for the first little bit, I was definitely like, yeah. And me and my friend were like making jokes and stuff. And then I was like, okay, wait, I actually kind of want to pay attention to see what happens. So I was fine. But then my friend fell asleep, which I felt bad because she tried not once but twice to get these tickets. And then when we actually got into the theater, she like pretty immediately fell asleep. Um, but the theater wasn't like too empty, but it wasn't like too full. Um, Also, I thought I should mention that my coworkers went that weekend too. Not at the same theater or anything, but they like also went. And they said that like their theater was like packed and that people were laughing at Harry's acting like in the movie. So I thought that was funny.
I did laugh at some
I laughed
scenes that
once or
I'm
twice.
sure there weren't supposed to be laughed
If there had been more
but
people and people had been laughing, I would have. But like that was not the vibe. Like there wasn't like a full or like even like a half full. I feel like it was kind of small.
I'm pretty sure at the reveal I was like, oh my God, like out loud or something.
Yeah, I
So was
gasped with the
Oh,
Yeah.
he was like an incel.
yeah.
LOL.
I was like, oh, what's that like greasy hair he has? What's
Yeah, it was
going on?
disgusting.
Woof. So that
Anyway,
was mine.
Emily.
Yeah, Emily.
Yeah, for me, I didn't have either of those problems. I was sober and I wasn't with my mom. So those were good. But yeah, we went, so Rich and I went together on like Monday night. And first of all, I think that so the movie theater that's right by our apartment, like I think is always pretty empty. Like I haven't seen a lot of people there, but like Monday night it was like very empty. And it was one of the nice theaters with like the reclining seats
Yeah.
that are great. So that was very exciting. And yeah, there were like I think there were like 3 other people there. So it was like very empty, which was
Yeah.
nice. And we got our popcorn and just chilled. So yeah, it was a good movie going experience overall, I would say.
Did he enjoy
Lovely.
it?
Yeah, he did. I mean, I think he had similar thoughts to, like, we debriefed after, and I think he had
Yeah.
similar takes to what we were saying too. But yeah, I mean, I think we both thought it was like an enjoyable movie to watch regardless.
Yeah. So where do we
Let's-
start?
Let's get into it. Let's get into
Yeah.
the first couple scenes where like all the characters introduced, and it feels like it's the 1950s. They're dressed like it's the 1950s. They're
Like
drinking.
vibes. They're at a party, right?
Yeah, they're
I was
drinking
still a
and
little drunk
smoking.
at this part.
One is literally pregnant, and she's both drinking and smoking. Like,
Yeah,
that is not.
that was the first thing I noticed. Because before,
Yeah.
like, before knowing, like, oh, this is like a simulation, right? So, like, they designed it, you know, these like incel men designed it to be like what they think is ideal, which is like 50s housewives, right?
Mhm.
Like, now that all makes sense. But before that, I was like, I was already assuming that it was some kind of like designed town by like Chris Pine, who was clearly like cult leader vibes.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, he designed it to be like the 50s. Like, I think I was always assuming that it was like somewhat modern day.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that, like, there were definitely clues to that, right? Like, it was 50s, but like there wasn't like 50s level like segregation or racism, like that, you know. So like that
No.
was apparent. But then, so I was like, okay, it's like modern day, but they're like doing the 50s cultural, like, housewives stay at home and clean
Everything
thing.
looks the same.
Okay.
Cookie cutter.
But then
kind
the
of thing.
drinking during pregnancy, I was like, why are they doing that? Like,
And smoking.
seems like they have like
Yeah.
modern day science. Why are they?
I
Yeah,
fully was
but I
like,
guess
on, and
like
there were
I
more
was
weird
like,
things. So
right. Well, I guess I was like they did that the fifth, like people didn't take that as
Yeah.
seriously. So I was like, I mean, that's not good, but I was like, I
yeah,
guess like
I was just assuming that it like wasn't the 50s. So I was
Yeah.
like, shouldn't
Yeah, I
they,
feel
also
not do
like I
that?
wonder if like because I have this flaw where I have to read the plot before a movie before I watch it, unless it's on this podcast. And I wouldn't have done it for this one if it wasn't like thrillery, because I was like, if it's like a funny like movie or whatever, like I can handle it. But I like was like, no, I have like it's a thriller. I gotta like have an idea of what's going on. So I'm like curious if I would have even thought about a simulation if I like hadn't read the plot at first. Cause like that didn't even
I
stick out to
didn't.
me like that. Cause I was like, oh, like I don't know. I guess I just didn't think about it. But I still like it stuck out where I was like, oh, why is it like she's just happily pounding
I guess
back?
it's a
Guzzling,
simulation, so
guzzling.
it doesn't matter because there's no real
But at this
Right.
but at this point, you're like, oh, it's fun. All the couples are like young and sexy, and you're like, they're having a
Yeah.
good time. Like they're always they introduce all the characters at once. So Alice and Jack are Florence and Harry's character names. I'm sure we're just gonna use Florence and Harry as their
Yeah.
actual
Yeah,
names
let's
throughout this
just do
podcast.
that.
That's much work.
And they're known to be they're kind of like the up and coming it couple, it
Yeah.
seems. And
Like the hot, sexy, like honeymoon
yeah.
couple.
Like, they don't have any kids, like that's mentioned a few
Yeah,
times.
they're
And it's
like
because
they just
and
are
it's a
having
And like
too
his
much
choice.
fun.
success
We
in
can
the
hear
workplace,
them.
like
Yeah.
whatever.
So they're so it's like
Sex.
cool. Like Florence Pugh's wearing Harry's shirt and they're like can't get their hands off each other. He's like, do you have to go to work? Oh, honey, I just gotta go. And he's like, oh, okay. And everyone does everything in sync.
Oh wait,
as
before
well.
we should talk about though, at this like party thing, don't they go to drive in the middle of the night before the next day?
Yes, they do.
Which is
Yeah.
like when you like the end of the movie, it makes a lot more sense. But then like they're just like in a car like doing donuts in the desert and they're like,
Which was
"Wah!"
weird because the whole thing was like the women weren't allowed to like leave the neighborhood or the
Yeah.
town.
Yeah.
But they were like,
Or like it
fuck
was okay
it.
with him. I guess like it's okay with the man because like by the end we discover
Well,
like the
they
men are the
talk
ones
about
keeping the
during that
secret.
scene
So
that
like
she's not supposed to be driving. He's like, oh,
Yeah.
like she's not supposed to be driving, but he's like nice and lets her drive around.
what a nice
but by
What a
let's
nice guy.
prison guard.
letting her drive
Nice
around,
guy.
meaning that she's just doing donuts in the desert. She's not doing any sort of other like handling of the driving, which we will talk about
Yeah.
later because as she has a whole full car chase at the
At the end of the
movie.
But also like I'm like, maybe because they weren't like actually at headquarters, it was just like desert, like where the
Mhm.
trolley gets off
Yeah, it was
later,
like
it's like
right
desert.
outside
So
their
it's probably like
neighborhood.
not like desert.
I was very confused by the town layout, but we could talk
Yeah,
about that
it
Me
seems like
now
it
or
had
too.
later.
Me
the
too.
store, that like gazebo, and then the neighborhood. I'm like, is
Yeah.
that it? Oh, and then like the place where they had that party. Yeah, I agree. I agree. But
But
that
the place
driving
they had
scene
the
was weird.
yeah, but the place they had the party was at Frank's,
Chris Pine's
and
house.
yeah.
No, no, no.
Yeah, that
The
was
place where
his
they got the
house.
promotion?
Oh yeah,
Oh, the
you're
like
right. You're right.
weird
I don't know where
hall.
that
Yeah,
was.
that was I guess that
But
was in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
town.
okay, we'll talk about the layout when we talk about the trolley scene where she gets off.
Okay.
Because I'm also they go into the desert, and I'm like, you're not
Yeah.
supposed to go
He
into
But
was
the
like we
like,
desert.
don't
yeah, he was
know.
like, I have to turn around, but why didn't he turn around sooner? Why did he drive into the desert? I don't know.
Like it would make sense to
Anyways,
turn. He was like,
Also,
that
they're
was my last
drunk.
stop. Yeah, they're absolutely
what?
black. No,
They're blasted.
the
Where they're
scene
doing
with
donuts.
Harry and Florence,
Oh,
they're
I
like,
thought we were talking about the trolley. I was like, the skeleton.
Sorry.
It seemed fine to me.
We're off. We're off here.
We're all turned around.
okay. Anyway, so
Okay, but also I have to say this before we start with like, because like once Harry leaves to work, because like that's really all we get. And this is like a little bit of my beef with the movie. Is that really like that beginning, like opening to like when Harry leaves for work is really all we get of like settled in, like happiness, like, oh wow, it's like amazing to be here. Like it's a little bit throughout, like it's obviously throughout the film, but like suddenly becomes unsettled like after this for like really no apparent reason about the town, so that's like the only like where she's like blissfully happy like unaware, and it's like kind of a short amount of time.
Isn't
um
it set off by like Margaret though? Pretty
yeah.
yeah, but when
much?
they're at the like clothing store, like within one of the next scenes, they're like gabbing about Margaret being weird.
Yeah, like when Margaret
So
first
that's like
had
right
that
at,
happen,
yeah,
she
so
was
it's like
like
right
not
after.
caring. That's
Like she's
true.
still like
Yeah.
in denial, I feel like, but I feel like that's like the first like sprinkle of unsettlement, or like when she's starting to think about Margaret a little bit more, even if she doesn't like believe
Mhm.
what's going on. So
Yeah.
despite that, because I feel like it just goes so the whole movie, like it wasn't a bad movie by any means, but I just feel like it could have been so much better if they just like adjusted things a little bit. Like I feel like just showing a little bit more like bliss. I guess they do that, and so maybe it's not like super valid, but
I wonder it
um
would have been an interesting. Oh, Emily, go.
I was gonna say I feel like there were a couple areas like that's one where they could have just like gone deeper on certain things. For
yeah,
sure.
Or like slowing it down, so like starting the movie
Yeah.
with Margaret being there, and then they having the scene of Margaret going into the
yes,
and it being like it's a little weird that Margaret suddenly decides to do that because like we care about Margaret, but we don't care about her that much like throughout the movie.
that's such a
Yeah.
good point. Like why wasn't she, well, I guess because she was like already like off her rocker crazy,
Yeah, that's
but
what I'm
like
saying.
you're right, they totally should have like shown her as like part of the group like having fun, because then it would have made so much more sense why like them gossiping about her and like talking about what happened, like why she would be more
Yeah.
unsettled by that.
Or at least before the party where she has that outburst, like share that like who
Yeah.
this is, like that they used to be friends, that this happened. Because she
Like
had the
literally,
outburst. I
You
think maybe I'm
lie!
misremembering, maybe I'm misremembering, but I feel like she had the
No,
outburst and like she saw her with her husband, like
yes.
Florence Pugh saw her with her husband in that room. And
yeah,
then they explained it all. And I was
Yes.
like, oh.
yeah,
Because at
because he
first
was
I
like,
was like,
here
well,
honey,
why
just
do I
take
care about
one,
this?
and you're
And she's
like,
like, I
what's
know what I
happening?
have.
Yeah.
No. They definitely talk about their relationship with Margaret after that because the only reason they talk about her is because Florence brings it
Because
up,
of,
being like,
yeah.
yeah, remember when we used to hang out with Margaret? And Bunny was like, yeah, that was strange, huh? Anyway.
Also, this is like so cuckoo knowing that Bunny knows what she knows the whole fucking time. Like
But it
it,
makes
it
sense.
makes sense why she does it, because she can't like, she has to keep up her act. Um, but the last thing I was gonna say before we like move into the like only the men can drive cars and like why can't I go into the desert part of the movie is that, say what you will about Harry's acting, because it is not good, but him and Florence have a great chemistry together.
They
Like
do.
I was
They
like,
do.
excuse me, is it
I
getting
was
hot in here?
I was like, I feel like I should not be watching this. At
With
the
my
same
mother in a
With your
small theater.
mom.
maybe that's why I was a little uncomfortable because I was like, wow, this is a little racy. But maybe it's because my mom is sitting like 2 feet next to me and she's like, Huh?
Like I could have bought, like I bought that they were like in love, like a couple. So I was
Until
like,
they had the flashback
Yeah.
scene, and I was like,
Well,
oh.
because
yeah,
I don't think Harry's like a flat out like horrible actor in all respects. I think he just can't,
no,
like, there were certain elements of it, like the very dramatic moments and like the yelling that like I don't think could pull off. But like the like just the chemistry and that kind of thing, like I think
he did
did
all
well.
right. Yeah,
It was
but it
just
was just like,
difficult because he was in this movie with like such great actors.
that's
Yeah,
what
I
I was
think
about to
that's what's
And
say.
he was like clearly
Like he was
new at
clearly out of
this.
place. Like everyone else was at this
Yeah.
like high caliber, and then he was just like not bad. Like if he had been in this type of movie with like a cast that wasn't this like A-list or like good at what they do, I feel like his reception would have been way different.
He also has
Mhm.
another movie coming out.
Lord of
It's a gay
mercy.
policeman movie.
A gay policeman
Oh.
movie.
It's called My Policeman, and he's a gay policeman.
There you
A
go.
gay policeman movie. It's called My Policeman.
So the next scene is when, after like they show Florence like cleaning up, and you're like, look at her, she's so domestic. She makes the roast. They have a great time having sex. You're like, okay, that's nice.
Yeah.
And then they have like the Frank party, and that's when we're introduced to the new neighbors, which is this like tall white
Mhm.
guy, and then this other small girl, who they're just like, oh,
Very
hi,
meek.
Violet, and I
Yeah.
cannot remember the other guy's name.
Who cares? He really doesn't have a
But
role.
that scene gets me because Nick Kroll is talking to the other guy.
Sorry.
That was so funny.
No, go ahead.
Nick Kroll is talking to the other guy. The other guy's like, wow, I can't wait to meet Frank, which is Chris Pine. So he's like, I can't wait to meet Chris Pine. And Nick Kroll's like, you're never ever gonna meet him. You should be grateful that you've gotten
There's,
into
like,
this project.
They're at a party
like,
at his house with only like 30 people there. Like, why wouldn't he
settle
think to
down,
talk to
King?
him?
Like he like got so angry, and for what? Also, I loved how like everyone else was stoic in that circle. It's like when you're at a circle at a party and just like, like everyone's like vibing, and then
yeah,
like once Nick has this little outburst,
everyone's just like,
everyone's
oh,
like, while he has
Well,
an outburst.
also the vibes were off, the way I was thinking about it, because like by that outburst, we're supposed to think like, oh, everyone's like super reverent of Chris Pine. Like that's, they're telling us that by the fact that they're like informing this new guy of it, and like everyone else kind of just agrees. But then like Harry and Florence go and like have sex in his bedroom. Like,
With Chris Pine watching.
well, that,
in
yeah,
4K.
but they, like, Harry didn't
Oh
know
yeah,
that. So,
baby,
like,
slow
shouldn't
down.
Harry have been like, maybe I shouldn't do this?
Well, my idea, because they also, going along with that thought, is that it makes it seem like no one ever sees Chris Pine. Like he's just this mysterious figure that they're like,
Ooh.
we love Frank, but then he shows up later, literally
He's
2
there
seconds
all the
later, being
time.
like, "Hey guys,
Yeah.
how's it going?" And like everyone
Yeah.
talks to him.
There's
like
not
he's
that many
normal.
people in this neighborhood.
So it's weird
like...
that Nick Kroll's character reacted. Dean, I think his name is Dean.
Well,
It's weird
yeah,
that
I'm
his
not gonna
character
I'm
reacted
gonna
so
call him
strongly.
Nick Kroll. Okay, I also think that because in that scene also Nick Kroll is talking about his like new promotion that like Harry's about to get later with like the ring. So I feel like maybe he was like, or maybe that was earlier, I can't remember. He talks about it at some point.
Yeah, yeah.
So I feel like maybe he had to be like, good guy, like just got the promotion. I love the boss. But it was still like very extra of him to like
Yeah.
give that kind of reaction.
The ring
Yeah.
thing happened in the first scene when they were having the party, because
Okay,
that's
that's what
when
it
he was
was.
like, "Hey!" And then the other guy, I think he's Indian, but I'm not sure. The South Asian man that was like, or like,
Oh, the pregnant
with the pregnant
woman's
wife,
husband. Okay, yeah. I was like,
who both of them were like, "Oh, we've been here for so long, but we haven't like raised up in the ranks," and that's
they
like
didn't
their
get invited
thing.
to the party, did they?
Yeah, no,
That was her
they
whole
didn't
thing.
get invited. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
the whole
wait,
thing.
hold up. The man of color not get promoted? How did I not catch that?
True.
You hate to see it.
No,
But he is an
Because it was
incel,
just played
so-
off as like his like white wife being kind of like upset about it. Like she
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, why didn't I get invited to the party?" So it was never
I
like
need the
presented
big
that
promotion
way.
so my lady can go shopping.
Yeah.
No, but that's a thing, because every couple has a thing. So like
Yeah.
Bunny and Nick's, Olivia Wilde and Nick Kroll's thing is that they have kids and they're always drinking and smoking, and they love Frank. That's their
Also,
thing.
can we pause? What a weird fucking pairing. Olivia Wilde and Nick Kroll.
Wilde and Nick Kroll.
I didn't buy that shit for 1 second that they
I've-
touched each other with like a glance of like romantic love or chemistry.
But I think that was the point. She wasn't there for him.
I know she wasn't
She
there
wouldn't
for
have stayed
him.
there for
but
him.
like,
yeah, but
it was just
I
like,
think they did that
if
on
they're like
purpose.
keeping up the charade, like of sorry, I'm sorry, I said charade. I'm so sorry I said that. Anyways, if they're keeping up that act, then like you think they'd like try a little bit. It was just so funny to see them like stand near each other. I was like, this is it.
Fully thought from the trailers that Olivia Wilde was Frank's wife. Like I really thought that.
So did
him
I.
And Chris,
Dead
Yeah,
ass.
from the trailers, I was so
when
I started watching it, I was like, "Excuse me, was I wrong the whole entire time?"
Yeah.
But yeah.
Also, that party doesn't seem fun at all.
No, it was just they were doing the same thing that they did at the other party, except for there's just more people in a pool that no one has gotten into yet.
Not a soul. Oh, would have loved to see Flo in a bathing suit.
She was in a bathing suit in this movie.
Yeah, but
twice.
Like, yeah, but it
wasn't the same.
It wasn't at the pool party. You're right, she was. That was me.
He went to the pool like in a different scene.
Yeah,
she did do that.
So that means there is a pool in town. So they have the pool, they have the gazebo.
Yeah, the pool and the shopping are in the same place.
Okay.
That's where the trolley takes them. That's the only place they can go.
Okay.
They clean their house and then they go to the pool. Which honestly, at that point in the movie, before anything bad had happened, I was like,
it was like
that's
kind of a sleigh. Yeah, same.
I'm happy with that.
I keep seeing TikToks of people like where they're like getting like eaten out by Harry Styles and like going shopping and charging everything with a credit card. And it sounds like I want to go to there. And I'm like, yeah, but
like willingly.
You watch the rest of the movie. Also, I would not want Harry Styles to mess up my roast.
Yeah.
My meal that I prepared.
Except for she messed up the roast.
She kind of
did.
And the roast
She
was perfect. Afterwards,
was fine.
I was like,
yeah, but also at this pool party, speaking of TikToks, another thing I saw on TikTok was like at this pool party, you know how Flo's hair is like the parted with like the long and like the little poofy thing on top, and people were like, that's like an 80s hairstyle. So like it couldn't have been more clear, and like all the outfits are, I don't remember if it was 80s, but it wasn't like 50s vibes. So there was like a lot of like outfit, like color, like hairstyles.
Oh, for sure.
But I feel like that their whole like thing was like, oh, like you can tell that they're not like really in this time period because like there's so many inconsistencies.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like,
I could tell that the whole time, but it didn't tell me simulation.
No, no. But I just like didn't even like I didn't get that when I watched the movie at all.
No,
like I was like, oh, she looks cute. I was like, okay.
There was only one time.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think of that.
I didn't think of simulation, but there was only one time where I think it was a quick glance that like she looks like, it wasn't the scene where she's in the bathtub and she looks at herself in the mirror and she doesn't move. If that makes sense. It was a different scene where it was like a quick glance where she like looks over and it looks like she's like in a hospital gown. So I was like, is this a dream?
Yeah, and she was like stroking Jack's head, right? Or no,
that was a different scene, but there was definitely a scene before where it was just like a quick glance that I was like, oh, this might not be real life. But then I was like, oh, this movie can't go the simulation route. And then it really fully did. I literally was like, I was like, nah, that's too simple. Being like, it was all a simulation. And they were like, no, for real, it wasn't all.
It was.
This is where my head was at. Okay, because I think Emma said something like this before, like, because you had like looked up the synopsis and like you were wondering if like people would have thought of simulation. Like, I didn't think of simulation. It was like very clear to me that it wasn't actually in the 50s because there was weird things
there was
that
just
were different
technology that they were like
there was a lot
of
it was that was clear, but I just thought like I was like, well, Chris Pine is like very clearly a cult leader, like they're all reverent of him, they came to this like to work, like they all talk about moving here, so I just assumed it was some kind of like, you know, they built this society and they're like super cult. Into it and they're so that's what I was assuming is like in modern day they built the society. They were like, it's like the 50s, your wives would be housewives and like everyone that went there was cool with it, but I did not think simulation. And then that was like where at the end I wish they had gone a little bit deeper. Like they peppered a couple of weird things in there, like at the party at Chris Pine's house, they were like, oh, we both honeymooned in like whatever place, the same place. Like,
Yeah.
and they peppered in one or
We'll
two
talk
of
about
those
that later.
things. But then, like, it wasn't until the scene where she was like fighting him at the dinner table where she pointed out, she was like, a lot of the women here are from Philadelphia or blah, like two other cities. So that was the point where I realized it was like so they don't have memories of their old
Yeah.
lives,
Mhm.
but like they didn't make that clear or like build on it anymore after that. I was like, so
No.
where do they think they came from? Like, how many memories do they have? Like, what do they think their lives are?
Which
Like, because they only talked about like where they're from, what city they're from, and like how they met their husband and where they went on their honeymoon. I'm like, you can't just plant those 3 memories in someone's head and
Yeah.
have them be
Have a
like,
fully
I
formed
have a
personality.
regular amount of memories as a fully
Yeah.
formed adult.
which
Like,
also like does not make sense, because if you're in a simulation, you obviously have the time to input different information, so not everyone honeymoons the same place or
Right.
from the same place.
like if you're
Right.
doing
which,
that
like-
to like build out a whole life, you would
Also-
have more than 3 things. So it really seemed like
Yeah.
they only gave them 3 memories, and all the women were like, this makes sense that I only remember like meeting my husband
until
and
Florence
being from
Pugh runs away
Philadelphia.
and
Just like-
things just spark in their head and they're like,
Well,
oh.
all of a sudden randomly. Also, it's like Victory is not that big, right? Like you would
No,
feel
but-
like it feels like it was just
Mm-mm.
sloppily done. Like if Frank or whoever. I also wish, and we can talk more about this later. I think I mentioned to you guys this when we were debriefing at first over text. Like I wanted to know about like Frank's presence like in real life. Like they mentioned he has a podcast, like that Jack was watching or whatever, but like
Mhm.
they don't really talk at
He's
all.
like
Like
us.
and
No,
like they
I'm
show
kidding.
like the interview portion of it, but I'm like, what does he look like what, like I don't know, I don't need all the information, but I would have liked a glimpse into that, or like
How much is he charging these men?
right, because I'm like, if Harry, because Harry is presumably working some like dingy job because he's always like he's pissed
Right,
about
like
it,
he looks,
but that's enough to
And he looks
afford
gross. No
Victory?
one would hire him anywhere else, which I
Yeah.
also
show
don't
him coming
understand.
back
If-
from work. Yeah, he's not like in an outfit
And that-
for like
okay,
a job.
I know we're like jumping ahead, but in that scene, I fully thought like the scenes previously with her talking to him after getting off her 30-hour shift. I was like, oh, so that was in his head, and he just kidnapped this. Like, I did not think that was, like earlier in their relationship, and now we have
like a
moved. If that
previously
makes sense,
established thing,
because like he
yeah.
was walking over to the apartment, and I was like, oh no, it seems like he like. It looked like to me that he just was following her around, and he was like, I'll take this girl to be my wife.
Oh,
At that scene,
interesting.
and I was
But
though I
some of the men did do that.
and so that's
Yeah.
super
I
ick.
fully think that Violet and her husband
For sure
that he took her because
we
Totally.
she
should
was
talk about also, because we glossed over this, but it wasn't like that important. But the when Violet is introduced is at that creepy dance class before the barbecue, right?
yes.
With
Yeah.
Gemma Chan, and she looks like so mild and meek and scared, and the dance class was creepy and just didn't really have.
The dance class was like
It was just weird.
horrible.
When Gemma Chan,
Gemma
was touching-
Chan,
anyway,
Gemma Chan stroking Florence Pugh to be like, you have to be straighter, and I was like, ma'am, this is a dance class.
also all the
Everyone
other
is
wives,
watching us.
the pregnant woman's there, like, what is this? This is creepy. Like, hey, come to. Well, also it's just weird because it's like, I guess everyone has to be on their A game because Frank's hot wife is there and she's like part of the upper echelon or whatever. But it's just like weird.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, I have to go to this creepy ass dance class once a week or however. How often is it? Like, are we actually learning? And I feel like it was just like a weird plot point.
No, they all just know it.
They're like,
Yeah, no, there was no learning. They Violet stepped right in and immediately knew what to do, and I was
Yeah.
like, no one's giving any instructions. Like
Right.
I was like, excuse me, what?
also, like, what was the point? Because like I get that she has in her hallucination that
I guess Chesapeake.
Soup, do you have something to say?
She has a lot of
Oh,
opinions.
She said she meowed. Did you
No,
hear
that
her?
was me.
Oh, I
I'm
really
sorry.
thought it was Soup.
It was
Okay,
good.
so I feel like she had the hallucinations of like the dancers or whatever, and that's like what they showed you when you were like going under, like
Mhm.
when you were whatever, like logging into Victory. But like other than that, there was
why?
yeah. Then I was like, this dancer
That
thing
was
is gonna
so
have
weird.
some big reveal, and
Why
then I
was
was
it like that?
no reveal.
It
The
was
reveal was
supposed
just
to be
like this
like
is the
their
login
eyes, right?
screen.
It's
not
like, and
supposed
it's
to be
no,
like-
but it's not even the login screen. It's like on their ceiling. Like it's on like Harry's bedroom ceiling. Like
Is that what?
reflected.
So that's
I
her
think
coming
so.
back.
It was really weird.
I
know,
guess
but it
that's
just
her
felt like there
showing
should be
that.
something deeper there. I
Yeah,
was like, why are
yeah.
these dancers like twirling about? Like the blood stuff really didn't made more sense. I don't remember why. Like
I
the
think it
red.
was just like that's what happened in your brain.
Yeah,
and,
like
the
that
amount
made
of-
more sense to me. And then it was like, wow, we're dancing. And I was like, oh, surely this will tie in with the creepy ballet class that Gemma Chan
No,
was
there was
teaching
nothing
that was
there. There
only
was
shown in
nothing there.
2 scenes. Like,
Okay, can we
what
talk
was
about the
point?
other scene with the other scene of the creepy ballet? I thought that was fully in her head. Like I thought, like
I did too.
so when they were like, "Hey, you good?" I was like, "Did you not see her stop and go over to the mirror and weren't like, what's wrong, Alice? Are you good, homie?" They were just
Yeah,
like,
why weren't they?
Well, the dance class was creepy at creepy Gemma Chan's ballet class. Anything can happen. They all move like robots anyways.
Also,
yeah, that was
what
horrifying.
what is your theory on like what was going on with Margaret being in the mirror? Because like my assumption for most of it is like it's a simulation, so there's glitches. So like when she like in the bathtub when she turned her head, but she didn't
The
move.
saran
Like
wrap.
yeah, but like why would it have glitched that Margaret appeared in the mirror and like did this? Is
I
that
don't
just
know.
like her brain doing that? Like
Yeah,
I don't know.
I guess that's
Maybe
just her
we're
brain
not
Was that
trying
supposed
to
know.
after? That was
process.
after she touched the mirror, right? Like the headquarters. Was that after the plane crash?
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay,
think
I
that's
guess
right
it was just like her unconscious like guilt about it or like
Yeah, because-
curiosity about
Yeah.
it. I don't know.
That's right after Margaret calls her and she's like, "Margaret, you're being crazy." And and that's when she goes home and sees Margaret like slit her throat.
So was
Which
that
I-
real? The phone call? Because at first I was like, that's like not real.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think I eventually was like, oh no, it's real. Because then like right after she saw the garbage, or not the garbage.
Yeah,
The death
because
happened.
she was just like, reaching out for help, and
Yeah.
Florence was like, "No, it's
Also,
fine.
I know this
It's
whole
not
movie
Florence
was
ignoring
built-
the call of a woman of color. Can you fucking believe?
She didn't ignore it. She answered and fully
And
was like, "You're
chose not to
crazy."
help her.
She
And
kind
chose
of
not to help
gaslit her a little bit.
Even
yeah.
worse.
Wait, we're skipping all over the place. So
And then she-
they
That's
have
okay.
It's fine. The movie's a mess. Then she tries to stick up for Margaret at dinner, like she didn't fully ignore her fucking phone call as a plea for help.
she felt
She's like,
guilty
"What about
about it.
Margaret?"
felt
I
bad at
know,
that
but
point.
it's just
Yeah,
like, come
she
on,
did.
queen.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Margaret also, so Margaret is a character was supposed to be played by Dakota Johnson.
you did.
That was the
Really?
original choice, casting choice.
Which-
Yes.
Why did everybody back out of this movie?
because freaking drama mess.
They
Okay,
read
we
it
know
and they were
why, but
like,
that's like kind of
"Oh."
insane.
So
we were
which
at okay.
also doesn't make sense to me either.
No. Okay, wait. So we were at creepy dance class party where Jack and Alice have sex. Chris Pine watches.
But and he's like,
Very chilling. I think Chris Pine was great in this movie.
Yeah.
He unsettled me greatly the whole time. Like even when like because like obviously you know that there's something like a little off, like Emily was saying, like cult leader
Mhm.
vibes. But like the whole time I was like,
I think he's very charismatic. I could see me falling into a cult with Chris
with Chris Pine.
by accident. Yeah.
Real
Not
okay.
but not this cult.
Not
Not the
this
one
cult.
where I'm a 50.
A different
not
cult,
this one in
though.
particular. Yeah.
It's a
another
different
call.
message.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
out of all three of us, I feel like you'd go into a Chris Pine cult, and then me,
Thank
and
you.
then Emily, I guess. Thank you.
But
I'm
So
gonna
after-
pull your guys out, like please.
after that scene, there's like no like Florence is like a little unsettled that Frank watched him, but not enough to be like, "Hey
Why
Harry,
didn't she say anything?
your boss watched you finger me to an orgasm," but like whatever.
Is that what she
Do you
would
want to
say?
do anything about that? Or like,
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Like, if I'm fucking my husband and his boss is like, and then afterwards, like, after the boss leaves, like, I might be too uncomfortable to stop, like, in the moment because I'd be too shocked. But the moment Chris Pine is out of distance, I'm like, yo, we gotta
yeah.
what happened?
I
Like,
fully
let's
thought that she was
go.
gonna stop him. Like I thought she was
Yeah.
gonna. She looked like she was gonna be like, "Hey, but
She might have
just was
wanted
like,
to.
and then just kept going.
Like,
And then I was
already
like,
at that point, she was like, I'm in danger.
I feel like
But,
Alice
like-
also like in the beginning just like blind, like not like blindly accepts, but just like trust Jack so deeply that like I
Because
feel
she
like
only has 3 memories.
right, so that
and
she's
they're
like
all at
But
him.
that wasn't
Well,
clear, so it was very
right.
confusing because they didn't establish that.
right, but like looking back, she probably was like, oh, this is just the way it is. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like you're not gonna be like shit talking Frank. Like she's not gonna be like, oh, that was so weird, even though it was, because like people are weird about him because he's culty, you know?
Yeah, Nick Kroll would
Yeah.
have yelled at her.
So
How dare you?
so after that scene, we go straight into like Frank is like being like, thanks for coming to my house. Love you guys. We're like marching through. We're marching to greatness. Everyone's gonna be like
The
us. And you're
wives
like,
are important.
the wives are our foundation. Without us, they cook, they clean, they have our children. We love them to death.
They're
And
just
that's like,
discreet.
So true,
and
bestie.
Margaret just walks up and she's like, lies. And we're like, who is this character that's just screaming
They
out?
should have explained Margaret before. Like,
Kiana
we
was
needed
so
more
right.
exposition.
Yes, Kiana was right. She should have been there from the jump, like in the like happy established memories of victory.
And everyone is like not disturbed by the outburst. They're like, oh, it's just silly old Margaret again. She hasn't taken her
Crazy old
pills.
Margaret.
And then her husband just drags her away, and the husbands are like, oh, he's about to get fired. And like being fired means that they're just like out of the program instantly. Like they cannot be a part of it anymore. And you're like, okay, that's a little weird, but like
Yeah, why is
there's
that a
no
big
like
deal?
yeah, why is that a big
Get
deal?
a new job,
Florence just
King. I remember thinking that. I was like, just get a new job, buddy. Like, you'll be okay.
I was like, yeah, can't you just be one of the trolley drivers? Is the trolley driver an NPC? Like,
no, the
is that a
trolley
real
driver
person?
had such a weird role.
Yeah,
Oh,
what? Like, who? What was the
Because like the
presence
people,
of like the
He was
people
like,
who had like worker jobs?
yeah. So like the trolley driver
Are
and
they-
the people who were showing the clothing magazine. That's also having know that it wasn't in the 1950s because they were like disappearing and standing in front of like a mirror, like a glass mirror, and they're like, "Hey, I want that vacuum," and you're like, "What is going on in the
also
next
like
scene?"
imagine like because he was scared of Frank too, so he wasn't just like a hologram or some shit. Like he had
Yeah.
some like morality or fear or whatever. And like imagine
where
fucking
did he
logging
come
onto
from?
Victory to fucking get on the trolley and drive hose
Drive the
everywhere.
trolley.
Like you don't
That's
even
why
get to have a hot wife, you just drive the trolley.
Well, so are
and then
they
That's why I
log
think
off.
he's an
imprisoned?
NPC. I don't think
Ooh, he could be. I don't know.
I think that he's like an NPC similar to the lady who jumped out of the cake at the later party,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Florence was like,
Mm,
"Hey, you look like someone I know." And then
From the dancing scene.
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
She
I
was
don't think
hot.
that.
right.
We can get
But
there.
so Margaret's like, "Hey," they're like, "Take your pills." She's like, "I don't want these dang pills." And we're like, "Okay, what's Margaret's story?" That's how that scene ends. And they
Yeah.
go immediately into another shopping scene to explain Margaret's story. And you're like, "Why didn't you just tell
You
this
could have just told us
like
then.
10 minutes earlier?" And the pregnant friend is asking all these questions, like literally like, yeah, I wonder what they do because anytime they do something, it shakes like an earthquake, and everyone's just like, okay, it's just a tremor of the boys, and you're like,
Honey,
what?
don't ask questions.
Boys will be boys. Also, can we talk about how that was a question mark the whole time? The planes, the like shaking of
Yeah.
the earth. Like there are so many like unsettling things. Like, what did it mean? Like, what was it? Like they're because like if they're logging in and out of logging it, whatever, like they're signing into victory, like they're not actually like doing shit. Like, was that them like making noise? Like it just doesn't really make any sense. And they were
There's just like a glitch in the simulation, and they've been told that it's like the work they're doing.
but then like
It really
I
doesn't
don't know.
solve it.
that's
They
that's
also-
the whole that's the
I
whole
don't know
problem
how
with it.
computer simulations work.
But
Maybe
that's
they
the whole
should
thing with this
sometimes.
movie. They have so much cop out by like choosing the plot ending of it was a
Right,
simulation.
right. They can kind
That
of
they could
do
just do
whatever.
shit that doesn't make sense. They're like, oh yeah, it's a simulation.
There
But,
were like
when you're
half
watching
baked
it and you don't
scenes.
yeah, when you're watching it and you don't know it's a simulation yet, I'm like, oh wow, like they're doing something at Victory that's like really sinister. Like
Yeah,
can't
I
wait
was
till
like,
they
they're making
explain it.
bombs.
Yeah,
I literally
that's
was
true.
like, they're making
Because
weapons.
like
Which
when
is
I
what
was
they
like,
said.
I was trying to
They're
like
like,
rationalize. I was like, okay, cult leader like moves them out to the desert while they're like making these like dangerous, like I don't know, like I was just trying to like
Yeah, you have all
figure it
these
out.
ideas,
And
and
then they were
then
like,
none
just
of
we're
them
never
are
gonna address
explained.
that ever again. And it's a simulation. So all of this makes sense now, right? And you're like,
Oh,
well, yeah, but like
like it's explained, but I'm not satisfied. Another one was like the fact that like the little boy who went out into the desert was like, I think, playing with like a red airplane
yes, and
toy.
then the plane
And then
went
she
down.
saw the red airplane. I was like, that's gonna mean something.
I
It
dead ass was
meant
like
nothing.
planes. And then it was like, nah.
And the plane didn't show up. She also, like, she was walking in the direction of the plane, and then she like turned and was like, yeah, I have no idea where I am. And I'm like, Florence, why did you walk that far before realizing, oh, I should not be in the middle of the freaking desert? Like, there was no thought process. She was just like,
She only
I
has
have
3
to make sure that.
memories. So there's not a lot going
But
on
that's
there.
at that part of the scene. At that part, you know there's something wrong because beforehand she's making eggs and she cracks every single egg and there's no yolk.
Yeah.
And you're
That
like,
was a hallucination, right?
no, I thought
No, I think that was, well, it was a simulation, but
It was
it
a
was real
glitch.
to her.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because
Okay,
then
wait.
she asked, like when she was interrogating Chris Pine at the dinner table, she was like, "Where does the food come from?" Like,
Oh, yeah.
eh.
True.
And that
Because
was,
they're not
I don't
eating.
know.
Also, that breakfast looked so good.
Yeah, just some nice eggs.
Just the fried eggs and
I
the
need-
bacon.
Well, yeah, but Florence
I need
Pugh
that
is
in my
gonna
life.
cook me up a fucking fried
Wearing
eggs on
my shirt,
toast. Yeah, sign me the.
giving me
I want to
coffee.
go to there consensually.
I mean, like, honestly, if I wanted it,
I'd be
this
Harry
movie would
Styles, but like not. Well, like
gross and
no,
incelly.
and I'm not gonna
Yeah.
work a real job and then like log in. That's too much fucking effort. Like I just want to be there.
Mhm.
So Chris Pine will just
How are
have
you
to
gonna
figure it
pay
out.
Chris Pine?
Well, Chris Pine will just have to figure it out.
I mean,
Also, Chris
apparently
Pine is dead
only
now.
needs like
It's my
you know.
turn now, so I don't need to worry about that anymore.
So we're at the infamous. So at this point, Buddy has already yelled at. I'm trying to keep this on track. At this point, Buddy has
Don't.
yelled at the pregnant fan,
I'm
that's
a
being like,
Oh yeah,
that-
Bunny was
that
kind of
has-
a bitch about that for no
he was
reason.
like, "You shouldn't ask questions," and the pregnant fan's like, and Florence is just like vibing. She's spacing out at this point because
Yeah.
she's like, "Wow, I'm feeling something that and this is not because she has touched the mirror that sends her back home. This is only because she saw Margaret get hand pills, and they're like, "Hey, this is just between man and wife. Florence, get out of here."
So
And
true.
that's the
Don't
only
worry
reason
about
she
it.
feels weird about it. Like there hasn't been anything weird
That's
enough
true.
for
Like,
her
why
to like
didn't you
start
feel
freaking
weird
out.
about Margaret's son dying / she says being taken away
That's
from
what
her?
I'm saying.
Like, why do you feel more weird about the pill? Yeah, that is true. That's
She
a very
doesn't
good
And they-
ride
point.
for Margaret in the right ways. It's like I get that she's guilty.
And,
she's
like,
a flawed
the whole-
character also, but whatever. Not in like the way the others are, but like none of them are perfect, but whatever.
Yeah, because her friends are like, yeah, she killed that boy. They never found his body, and she's just like, yeah, that's crazy. And I'm like, hello, what's going on?
Yeah,
And they
like it's just so weird how they all react to
Yeah.
things.
But I
Like-
guess because it's a simulation, that's why
So true.
they react so
Thank
weird
God.
and not
Problem
human-like.
solved. No question.
It is a cop out ending now that we're talking about it.
But and then so we have a couple scenes of the pool scenes and like just establishing that
or-
Alice has friends and is Bunny only, basically. Like they hang out with other people, but her and Bunny are like best friends.
And her
Alice
buddies
hangs out with the kids.
Too. Yeah.
Even though but at this point they told us, the audience, that Harry and Florence don't want kids. That was the thing
Right.
that they discussed.
Which they
But,
don't
like-
need to. If they're gonna have that much chemistry, props to you. Keep it going. The time is
And
right.
it
You'll
doesn't
know.
seem like she wants kids. She just likes hanging out with Bunny's kids. She seems very happy of being like being childless.
Right.
And you're like, oh, that's nice.
I
Which
want to
comes
go
back
to
to
there.
later. Which comes back later when Harry's begging to have a baby with her, and she's like,
Yeah, that
No.
did
Which
come
is
out of the
so
blue as
weird. That comes
well.
out of the fucking blue. Anyways, Keep us back on track. Keep us on track.
Especially since now we know that baby's not real. So like,
Yeah, why would he care?
He just wanted to like, never mind.
Anyway, so we get to the part where she's already feeling kind of weird. She's like, Florence is not having a great time. She sees a plane crash, and the trolley driver NPC guy is
we
like,
still at the plane crash? I thought we finished talking about the plane crash.
we talked about it, but like I'm just trying to get us past
Trying to go in
because
order
I want
now.
because I only want to talk about how weird the layout, because they show a little map of the house, and it's just like they live in a cul-de-sac, but they're surrounded by houses. And then there's the shopping center at the end. Like, the shopping center is not in the center of town, which I think it should be. It's at the end of the route. And he just turns, instead of just like turning around, like, why don't they have just like a little turnaround so he could just go back to the thing? He goes into the desert, which they're not supposed to go to. And then he looks up and like, hey, did you know that was the last stop? I have to turn around. I'm like, you didn't tell me.
Yeah, that was weird.
You feel like they'd be more forceful, like in Victory. Like they'd be like, get the fuck off the bus. Like you can't just like idle about at the end of the route. But
yeah. And you think he would be more forceful of not letting her step out to go to the unauthorized place. She was like, the plane crashed, and he was like, yeah, that's crazy. I would have kept driving if I was like the trolley driver, so she couldn't get off. But he stopped for her. She was like, thanks. And then she just walks away.
That's why I'm so curious, like, who he is.
Yeah.
Because if he was a computer, you would think that his one directive would be like, don't let women walk into the desert.
Don't let women walk.
And if he was like one of the like trained red jumpsuit people, same
and
thing.
We could talk about the red jumpsuit people.
Who is yeah.
Also like with like when she, oh my gosh, I'm losing my train of thought. When it feels like a lot of people in Victory are kind of like not my circus. So like if someone else is like out of pocket, like you're just gonna like chill and watch like while they create chaos or whatever, as long as you're not like part of it. So part of me is like, it feels like he's like a real person, because like if he was a computer, like you guys were saying, he'd be like vehemently like, no, like this woman cannot go. But like he's just kind of like,
also doesn't have the intel of what's going on.
I don't know. I think he has some to an extent, like the men, but then because like why would he just like let her go then?
Yeah. I mean, either way,
and he like was like, absolutely not, I'm not going there, I'm not taking you. Like, why would he be so scared if he like was computer and could go there without consequence?
But also, why would he be so scared if he knew what was over there? Like either way, the
well, like not
trolley
scared to go there, but like scared to get in trouble is what I'm
thinking. But like either way, the bus driver was really weird in that situation, and just let her get off without even like. That must have a fuss. She was like, no, I'm really gonna go.
Put up a fight.
And she was like, okay, bye-bye. And like, I'm assuming that maybe I'm assuming that when she wakes up, Harry has to immediately put her back into the dream sleep. Right?
Yeah, which is also weird. Like,
what did that look like? Because wasn't he at work?
Didn't she have some like flashbacks at that point? Like, is that when she was
maybe
like,
it was just.
And then he like got back and was like,
a bunch of visions.
You fell asleep, babe. Also, not me thinking that scene afterwards where he's like cooking for her and won't let her cook. I'm like, dang, me and who was so cute.
Except for he's gaslighting the hell out of her.
Horrible at cooking too.
I don't know. Okay.
Oh, I have to boil the potatoes before I melt.
Okay, yeah, that was stupid. But like, it was just kind of like, okay, so I don't know. It wasn't like him as like the character, because like
but just being cooked for,
it was just like being cooked for. It wasn't like that.
Yeah.
But like I also like I just thought it was like touching that like their relationship where she like has so much trust in him that like he gaslit the shit out of her. Not touching, but like telling about how much she trusts him, because he gaslit the fuck out of her, and she was like immediately was like, oh, you're so right. She's like, babe, you have all the answers.
I won't tell you what happened.
Which makes the ending all the more creepy. She was also scared.
Because if she trusted him, she would have told him, oh, I went out into the desert and like something really weird happened.
She did tell him.
There was definitely an element of like fear there.
Yeah, she saw.
No, but she tried to, and he kind of blew her off, and then she stopped. Yeah. Like,
because
was
remember
later
like, at the dinner,
yeah, you're right,
Frank is the one that was like, you went out to the desert, and everyone was like, And she's like, it's because I saw a plane fall down. And they're like, wow, you crazy, even though they were just gaslighting her.
Yeah, they were
But
disgusting.
and then
her.
later scene, so we're assuming at that point with all the dance, that scene also when she's waking up, way too long. They're like canning, they're dancing, eyes are being shown, and you're like, okay, so I guess now you
zoned out.
I guess now you could say that she woke up and then was immediately put back in, and that's why it was so long. And they like kind of did it in reverse.
It must have just been like good timing that he was like returning from his like.
Well, he has her
whatever job
down.
He has.
So he has her strapped down. She has like her wrist and like ankles are bruised up. So I'm assuming that she woke up and she was trying to fight, and he was just like, "Settle down, honey," and then put.
How did she didn't get out when she at the end? Or am I skipping ahead too much?
No,
we don't know how.
Well, he's dead, so like she can take her sweet ass time.
But they made it seem like Bunny was like Bunny at the end was like, they're gonna kill you in your real body.
They're gonna go. Yeah.
So another thing that was like
unclear. Yeah, can we talk about that?
Also,
that was confusing.
Like, okay, if I was running a simulation cult, I would make everyone live in the same
ass
area.
Place, dead ass. Why are they all like, different? Well, I guess they have to work their jobs and shit.
But they don't need. I would also supply them a job, so they don't have to go. Like I would.
Good point. Because
the simulation was also like bad.
Yeah, you would want to contain it. You would want to contain it.
And again, we can get out of this by just saying like Chris Pine didn't really think about it enough, and he wasn't very smart.
That's why Gemma Chan.
Like, there's like a way you explain it away,
fix
but like,
it all.
I had so much beef about that fucking plot.
We were talking about like before, like when we were first talking about the movie, we were talking about like how, like, wouldn't they get found out really quickly? You know, Alice was a surgeon. Like, wouldn't her work come
good doctor?
Her? Like, do they have family?
A good doctor.
So like. There was that, and then I feel like I was the one who said like, oh, well, maybe like they didn't explain this at all in the movie, but like presumably there could be something where like part of the service they're paying for is like a story to explain why like neither of them are any longer like living their lives, like, you know, they died or they moved or like whatever.
Except for they're all the only
but
thing
then they don't move. Like, why don't they actually move? That's a really good point. And then
they living in the same apartment, like. No one's like, hey, I see you go in there, but Alice never comes out. Is she good? I hear screaming at night. Is she good?
Like, is she? I feel like maybe after that one instance where he like fucking greasy ass Jack Chambers with his like bouquet of flowers, where he's presumably like tying her down or like
the way I was like
a little shooky by that scene too. I was like, because that was like, I did not know it wasn't like, well. I like sort of like the Wikipedia was like vague about it. So like I just didn't know that it was like that non-consensual where like he's fucking greasing and tying her down or whatever. Like that was icky.
Like literally he has to keep her body alive. So all the men in
the fucking
simulation
water drip in her lips.
That's the other reason. That's good. That's the other reison they have to leave. That's good.
They have to keep their bodies alive. Which I'm like, okay, they've been in the simulation for God. For God knows long. How is she like? How is she pooping? How is she peeing? How is she eating? Is her body?
There were no catheter bags on that bed. There were no IV drips.
Which is why, again, they should all have been in the same place. That would have made sense. But anyway.
You should like stab Chris Pine and take over.
I think Pierre's manic enough. I think I'd be able
to. You got a Chris Pine energy. Unfortunately, not one you would want to resonate with in this context, but like.
So we already.
Where are we? God, trolley, plane, Harry.
Yeah,
gaslights her.
Harry,
what happens next?
Gaslighting. This is when she's like slowly losing. No, this is the dance scene because Margaret dies.
They go to
dance.
They go to the party.
No, this is like the creepy Gemma Chan
work function.
No, the work function is after Margaret dies, right?
Yeah, work is after.
Oh, I forgot.
Because Buddy's like, you're spiteful like Margaret. But so they have the creepy dance thing, which we kind of already talked about with like the mirror. And then what happens after that?
Well, those are when she's slowly losing her mind. So that's also when she's cleaning. And the scene is different from the earlier scene because she's like a mess. because like when she was cleaning earlier, she was wearing a dress, a head wrap, she looked good, but now she's like, oh
Disheveled,
God, I hate
yeah.
my life. And she almost gets crushed, and
By
she
the
does it, and
wall.
you're like, okay. And then
Foreshadowing
that's when they all gaslight
about the
her. She was
hug.
like, but she was fully like, I saw Margaret slit her throat, and they're like, yeah, that's crazy though. And that's when the doctor comes and visits her, and she
No,
tries to read all,
let's-
or is that after the party?
The doctor visits her
Mm,
twice, I think, because
The-
he visits her.
No, he only visits her once. I think it's before the party though.
Oh, you're right. And he tries to give her the pills. Harry says, no, we don't need those. And then
Yeah.
Harry walks the doctor out, and she sees she tries to grab the file because
And
he
it's
left
all
his,
redacted.
briefcase, right? And it's
Except
all
for like,
redacted.
okay, so
Why
the doctor is
include
not
that detail if it's a simulation?
Yeah, also like why does he have files in his own briefcase that are redacted? And why is he carrying around redacted
Right.
files? Just
Yeah.
don't fucking carry the briefcase. It
maybe
doesn't make any
maybe
sense.
Doesn't exactly.
maybe because
It
it's a
doesn't make any sense.
simulation, he can only see
Oh
the
my god,
files
of course. It's a
normally,
fucking
and
simulation.
everyone else can see
Okay,
it.
great. Great. Problem solved yet again.
But like also, so that's the scene where she's in the
Oh.
bathtub, and she's like, she's like, and she has multiple scenes where she's like, I'm going to kill myself, and you're like, is she good?
Yeah, you're like,
What's
Alex?
going on? Like the scene where she wraps her face in saran wrap, and I was like,
That was frightening.
only because she looked like she could not get herself out, and I was like,
Yeah, I was
dear
like, how'd they
Lord.
film that? I'm curious. Oh, that's my other tangent. Is this film was shot so well. It was shot so well.
It
What
looked
a
nice.
waste.
Mhm.
What a waste of
I love
so many beautiful, like it was really just cinematography just off the
the
charts.
colors were really
Mhm.
nice too.
Coloring, the soundtrack, like, and God, the cast even.
Oh, the soundtrack was really
Like,
good.
oh my God, it was so good. And like those scenes, like with the wall coming in and just like all those like parallels of like the breakfast shots, like everything was done so well. And for what? And for what? It was
I
just
mean, but it was such like small changes to the plot. I feel like I could have been like, this was great. Like
I
Mhm.
agree.
it was
I
just
think
like
it had the
little things, like a
potential.
little bit deeper here, a little more explanation here, a little
I
more
agree.
clarity here. Like
It could
it
have
was
been.
just
And
all
I don't think
little.
that I think Harry should have I feel like Harry could have been like a husband that like not one of the main husbands like Violet's like like something like that. Then they could have cast someone else. Like you could still have Harry Styles in the film. Have him be-
Mhm.
I just feel like that someone else should have been Jack.
Yeah,
And it could
I
have been
think
really because he wasn't like sinister enough. He was just like pathetic, honestly.
Yeah, he
But I don't
wasn't
know.
coming across as like
I guess that's incel
Like-
vibes, right? Like
Yeah,
incels
but
are like,
like,
oh,
was he?
pathetic, but
Yeah, I don't know what he was supposed to be. Not pathetic, but I feel like he should have been a little bit more sinister, especially when he tried to kill her at the end.
Yeah.
it literally was like
And-
Barney, I love you, you love me. Like, and she also magically kills him with hitting him on the head with a glass.
Yeah, that's
How'd
why I
that
was like,
work?
yeah, he also bled a lot,
He was
and
like,
they were like,
oh,
and okay, sorry, we're getting
her
ahead of
body's
ourselves because
covered in blood
I really want to talk about the party only because
of Harry's crazy dance.
Harry gets promoted. He's like, Alice is begging him. Like Florence Pugh is begging him to leave. He's like, hold on, babe. Something good is about to happen. He gets promoted. They also talk about promotions. We don't know what they mean.
What
What
does
they
it
do.
mean?
What does it mean? And
They
All
don't-
the men know that this is fake, that there's no job. So
is it
what,
just for the
what
guys
does
of
that
like
mean?
them
It was
thinking
a-
they have jobs?
Like Chris
I don't
Pine
know.
likes you. It basically just means
Yeah.
he likes you. He thinks
But,
you're
like,
cool.
That's why Nick Kroll was
I
like
guess
off his fucking rocker earlier because he had to
yeah,
go
I
to
guess in a
teacher's pet.
cult they're on like gold level status instead of
Yeah.
bronze
Fucking
status.
Costco membership.
But this scene, I think this is a scene I audibly laughed at because Harry Styles starts tap dancing, but it's like a little bit too long. It's also
goes on
juxtaposed with
way too
Florence
long.
Pugh like actually losing her mind. So it's like he tap dancing, having a good time. Chris Pine's yelling at him, "Hey, we can make him dance. Let's make him dance, monkey!" And then I was just like, "Dear Lord."
Also, this is after big stripper scene, right?
Yeah,
Which is
Yeah.
so fucking weird.
which
Also,
Gemma Chan gets for Chris Pine. She's like, to celebrate my husband,
Also,
Here's
not
the
in the privacy
stripper.
of their own home. Like, Gemma Chan was like, everyone can enjoy this naked woman. And to Gemma's credit, she looked great and she put on quite a show. And it seemed like everyone was entertained. But it
Except for
was real.
Alice.
Well, because
Except
Alice is having
Florence.
a mental breakdown.
She's
Besides that,
that's the lady. The lady
she's
in the
like, I
vision.
know her. Yeah.
She's
But Harry's going
she's
cuckoo.
yeah. Harry's going insane. He is dripping sweat. Like hair is literally sweaty.
He looks
And
awful.
and is dancing like a monkey. And Chris Pine is like, we are the men. We are the future, boys. And everyone's clapping, even the
Everyone
women. And I'm
loves
like,
it.
what's going on? Bunny goes into the bathroom while Florence is having a breakdown. And she's like, Margaret was right. This is all a lie. We can't be celebrating this. And Bunny's like, get your shit together. You can't be ruining this
What
for
are
me.
you talking about?
You're just Margaret.
And we're just like, okay. At that point, we should have known that Bunny was in on this.
I think
because
that's at the point where I was like, oh yeah, I remember later in the Wikipedia plot they mentioned that Bunny had stake in
Yeah.
this. It makes sense now. Also, just an aside, do we think that Chris Pine gave Harry this promotion because he knew Alice was bugging and he wanted her to bug even more at this ceremony? Because I do.
I absolutely
Yeah.
think he was doing this on purpose. Yes.
Yeah. Like especially post a doctor's visit, he was like, time to make this
Oh yeah, he
worse.
knew.
Because also every
He was
time
like watching her the whole time.
Yeah, the whole time.
I also think
Again,
so that also
theory.
goes into the fact that like the only reason Jack brings them together in the simulation is because he feels insecure about his masculinity, that his girlfriend is doing all this stuff and he's just watching incel videos on YouTube.
Not looking for a
And-
job until he's locked up his girlfriend.
And
And then there's urgency to find a job. When if he had found a job with his real life girlfriend in real life, then some of their marital problems or like relationship problems could have been solved.
but at the
make it make sense.
Or
But
just
at
like
this-
make her dinner after her 30-hour shift.
Dead
Like
ass.
she
But
wasn't
at the-
asking for too much.
at this point she had already had the like I think the dream recollection where she's like, you can find a new job, which is where I was like, okay, maybe it's not a simulation, maybe this new job is victory, not like you can find a new job. And he looks normal there. He hasn't gotten gross at that point because I guess he never finds a new job until
okay. I guess that was the one little crumb we got about that thing, because I was just gonna say, like, I wish we got any information at all about like the before of him being like a greasy incel who was unemployed.
That's all we got,
like
I think.
what?
Yeah.
Because like so I like I don't know if I totally missed it, but I just like didn't like recollect that as much, and I was like, what, like, how did we get to this point? But I guess that's all we got.
Yeah, we're almost done,
Yeah.
guys. We're just gonna go straight to the next party scene where Chris Pine literally is like, I know you're right. This is all a lie, but no one's gonna fucking believe you because I'm Chris Pine and I have everyone under my thumb.
Yeah.
Also,
said
he
you
was
didn't
like, I've
believe
been
Margaret,
waiting. I've been
so-
waiting for someone to challenge me. First of all, Margaret challenged you. So why did she die, but Alice gets to live longer? Like, why was Alice the chosen one to challenge you?
But
Also,
also
can we just
Margaret
say Frank wants
kills
to
her
fuck Alice, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Couldn't be any more clear. So
He
I feel
wanted-
like that was
it's-
more the
he wants to conquer her. In a
right.
sense.
Because she's like
Yuck.
yeah, anyways, but I was like, huh, Margaret already challenged you and you like literally killed her or like drove her to insanity to the point where she would kill herself. So like
Where the red men
he
come
was
out
like,
and you're like,
you're the
"Who are these
first person
men?"
to ever like, I'm like, certainly that's not true.
Also, she's not challenging him. She didn't have a public outburst like Margaret. She literally has been looking at him. He's been looking at her. And that's about all
That's
their
about it.
interactions at this point. This is their first conversation, actually. Now that I think about it.
yeah.
Everything else has just been like them, like,
Yeah, they literally just look at each other. A stolen
Mhm.
glance.
and
Uh.
at this point, I'm like, okay, obviously this is the scene in the trailer where she starts like asking all those questions like, oh yeah, and you honeymooned here and blah blah blah. And I was like, Florence, what was the plan? Because you know
Yeah.
everyone at this table
Yeah, like
fully
why
believes.
did you?
Why did you do this like this?
She went in with no thoughts, just vibes. It was just like, okay,
I
well,
think she didn't have the information that like all of the men knew about it and would fight to like protect the secret as well. Like because at that point she still thought that like
It's
Harry
just,
was on her side.
yeah.
So I think like that was like if she thought like, oh, if I'm convincing enough, like they'll start to see. But she didn't have the piece of the equation that was like like more than half the people at this table like
yeah.
already know the answer and are like actively not sharing it and have like stock in like the other people at this table not figuring it out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, like,
And this is where Gemma Chan's outburst is confusing to me. Go on.
yeah, okay, and then we'll get to that later too. But I was gonna say, like, I feel like, yeah, I feel like a large part of like where the argument, but I don't think anything would have worked because they're in the presence of Frank,
Mhm.
and like even though he was like fully gaslighting like out loud, I don't even think he needed to do that. He could have just like sat there stoically and had like the same effect. But like it
Yeah.
was interesting to see him and like engaging and like seeing how he was like playing it off and stuff like that. I
Chris
guess just
Pine only
like,
had 50 lines and he did his best.
and he did his damn, he earned his check. Um, but like it was just like I don't know. And I also just feel like the clues that besides like the food thing, I guess they did mention the where the people met or like, oh, we honeymooned here or whatever. Like they
Yeah, but
weren't,
it wasn't
I was
until
like
this
that,
point that that made any sense.
right, but it also like wasn't super obvious. Like those were not the clues I would pull out if I'm like laying out my case against Victory. I'm not going to be like, remember when we both met here? I don't know. It was just like
Also,
Yeah.
if Chris Pine
us,
is in my presence, and that's like my strongest argument, and I know that Chris Pine is a cult leader that has a lot of people on his side, like
I honestly wouldn't have said anything because no one has
no
believed a
one would believe
single
me.
word I've said so
Yeah.
far. I literally have been like, I watched Margaret slit her throat. Oh, she just hit her head and she had a bad fall. She's gone now. We'll never see her again. But I swear she's alive. And
No, don't
and
worry.
everyone's like, okay. And then she's like, I saw a plane crash. Oh, you just fell down. You were just dehydrated. I was like, okay. I would have
Yeah.
like at least played along a little bit more to try to gather any sort of evidence before, because
I
again,
know.
anytime
But she also
someone,
was like mentally deteriorating, which I like
yeah,
feel like I forget. Like at that scene where I was like,
yes,
"Oh, come on, Queen!"
yeah,
Like not come on, Queen, because like he was gaslighting her and he was the source of
but
like
everyone was gaslighting her as well at the
But
same
right.
time.
But like she was like mentally deteriorating at this
Yeah,
point, like in her own brain, like insane. So there's like no rationality that can like really come with that state of mind.
Right. And I feel like it was desperation because that was the first time that anyone ever like admitted to
acknowledged.
her face
Yeah,
that like something was happening. Like Chris
Right.
Pine like confronting her alone and saying that was like the first time where someone like confirmed everything she already knew. She was like, I have to
Right.
make something out of this. Like I have to make everyone else realize too.
It's like the biggest
Like
confirmation you can get too,
mm-hmm.
like from Frank.
Which
right.
was the point. The point was that he wanted her to drive herself crazy, isolate everyone around her, force Harry to send her off to the the electrical shock therapy, which does not make
we
any
talk about
sense.
that.
But also, why? Like, why? Don't you want people to pay for your like? Huh? It's just like, why are you?
Okay, but anyway, so after this scene, she thinks she convinces Harry to like leave, run away.
I low key thought that he was gonna do it too. Like I was
I
like,
low key, but also high key was like, this man is too far and deep. Because again, at this point, I did not know he was an incel, so I was like,
no.
oh, he's a part of.
Yeah.
He just
But I
doesn't
just
know
thought that they
any.
But
had
I knew
mutual
he knew
trust.
something.
Yes.
And I also knew that like more shit was gonna go down. So I was like,
It just
I
felt
was
like
like, he's not gonna be on like the helpful side of it all when this ends. So I felt like he wasn't gonna.
I thought he was being gaslighted as well, though.
Same. I thought that there was also some like guise of like misinformation that he like didn't know also, and we don't know that he's incel. We don't know that he's like logged her into the simulation. Like we don't know the depth of like what he's had to do to like be in that spot. And we've seen their like mutual trust and connection, even though he did gaslight her many times. But like I was just like, wow, like like he just doesn't fully know the depth of like this like creepiness that's happening. Like he will have
Yeah.
a change of heart, and together they will like face the consequence. Like I genuinely thought, until they got in the, like, the moment she got in the car, I was like, oh no. He before he
Yeah.
had his little outburst, I was like, oh no, it ain't happening, sis.
Yeah.
He's not going anywhere.
He got into they got into the car and he was just silent. And I was like, oh, she's about to get kidnapped by those red jumpsuit men. And then throughout the whole entire
And she
time, when he
did.
was like,
Sorry,
the whole
sorry.
yeah, when he's doing the sorry, when he's apologizing, I was like, dude, this is your fault. You did not have to rat out your wife to the people, and then she would not have to go through this process. Because at this point, I was like, oh, she's going to die like Margaret is.
I
So
did
I was
too.
like,
I thought
oh,
she was gonna die.
there's no hope for her. And I thought again that Harry wasn't an incel at this point. So I was like, oh, he just is misunderstanding, but doesn't trust his wife because he's too far into whatever this is.
Right. Yeah.
And then they
Yeah.
have the whole
So then-
scene. Go on.
No, I was gonna say, like, it comes down in the end to like him having guilt over like what he's done, but like I think we already touched on this a little bit, but like I think
He
it was just
wasn't-
like the depth of his acting, like the sinisterness like didn't come across
Mm-mm.
underneath it, so it was just like weird and pathetic, but like it should have been like more complex.
Like, I
Yeah.
think
I don't know.
if there was an actor who could have played it like more creepy, the scene where she's begging him to stay, like there would have been an undertone. Like for me to actually believe he might change his mind shows me that like he's not the right man to cast. Because if it was like more creepy, I would have been like, I don't think so. Like it ain't happening. I feel like we would have
Yeah.
known then that it's not happening, not like him randomly being silent at the car. Like,
Mhm.
or I don't
Right.
think we would have like feigned him or like as much innocence or like as or like been like, oh, he doesn't know as much if
Mhm.
it wasn't Harry Styles. Like it would have been like, oh, he knows. And that would have meant like the whole, I guess the plot reveal wouldn't have made as much sense.
But yeah, I think I like the idea that the plot is that Harry's character is supposed to be, you're supposed to trust him. And I think
Yeah.
that makes the twist even worse.
Yeah.
Because you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I fully thought that he was that he was just a little misguided.
Yeah.
That was it. And until the twist happens and he's like, oh no, this man is just bad.
No.
Like I literally was like, oh no,
evil.
he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And, like after that, I was like, she needs to kill him. Like at the
Yeah.
end of this movie, he's probably gonna die. And
Yeah.
you know what? Dead Harry,
Dead Harry.
Yeah.
Wait, so she goes and gets electroshock therapy, and
which
that's
gives her
which-
memories.
which empowers her more.
Why was that part of their like?
What?
Let's electroshock a woman who's in a simulation,
That makes no
like
sense.
a fake brain. It's not her brain; it's a fake brain. How did
How did
does
that work? Yeah.
First of all, and second of all, it gave her like. Why would they do it knowing it might give her memories?
It gave her back her memories. So at this is where the twist reveals that like, oh, Alice was the doctor, like a surgeon, not like just a normal like pediatrician. Like she was actively in surgery and was like, oh yeah, bye. So at this point, there was like a janitor in a red jumpsuit, and I was like, oh my god, she's gonna get kidnapped.
I thought
And
so
that's
too.
how and that's what happened. And no, she just
And
strolls
he
off
just
into the
strolls
apartment
by.
with Harry, who is, my god, I literally gasped when you see him because he
Me
is
too.
He looks
dirty and
rough.
disgusting.
He
And
nasty.
she's like, where's dinner? And he's like, oh,
You didn't text me back what I wanted, so I didn't.
and she was
know.
like, I literally have been in surgery for like 12 hours. And he's like, oh, you didn't have time to stop in the middle of your surgery to give me a text back? But at this point, you're like,
Make me a
okay,
grocery list. I don't get it.
you're like, they should be dating. They should have been, I feel like they've been dating for like a year or two, where you should know your significant other.
Oh no, I think
or is
maybe
this
they
just,
were married.
I thought they were dating. Are they married in this? In the real
I mean,
life?
it made it seem like this is the Wikipedia entry talking, so like who knows who wrote that, but like like they had the same last name.
I thought they were
in, like,
married.
their
Too.
real-
I thought they were
I
married.
think they were married, like, and I think that's
Either
why
way,
it
they
makes a little
should've-
more sense that way. Because like if you were dating someone and they like
Oh.
went down this hill and became like an incel and like
Yeah.
weren't doing things for you at all, like you might be like, I'm gonna.
But either way,
leave.
that
But,
doesn't
like,
Well, they
if you're
are
maybe
married,
that
right?
takes
They are
longer.
because in the original
Yeah.
script they were divorced. Remember?
Mm. Yeah.
So they're
Yeah.
definitely married in the movie.
They're married, yeah.
But
Yeah.
either way, that doesn't stop my point of he should just know what she wants.
Oh, for
He doesn't need to
sure.
wait for a text.
Why is he
Oh,
waiting so long and
yeah.
acting like it's on
He's
her?
a bad man.
And
And
then
so,
like,
Yeah, go
I
on.
just sorry, but I like
No.
literally was like, dang, she just like me for real, because one of my exes was the fucking same. I come home withered and battered from my like grad school, like mom has cancer, blah blah blah. And he was like, why don't you want to have sex? I just didn't know what you wanted to do. Man, pay attention. And I was like, this is too real. And he was a coder, so when he had that fucking like geek ass setup where he was listening to Frank's incel pods, I was like, this is too real. And I was like, whew, I need a second to calm down. Anyways,
so this is actually not the twist. The twist
twist
is
is
later, but like at this point you're like, oh, so the relationship is not good as what it was before. But I'm still fully in like, maybe they just have a change of heart. They go into the cult and they have a change of heart.
That I was like that too. I was like, oh, weird that she like decided to give up being a surgeon. Like, and
I'm still like I have
maybe neither of them knew they were gonna lose their memories.
Yeah,
I was
the
like,
simulation.
See, I already knew by
like
then.
in the
Like,
back.
I had read it, so I was like, I know what's happening now. Because
So
I like
the simulation's in the back of my head. I'm like, because I'm talking myself out of it, because I was like, that would be absolutely insane if this turned out to be a simulation. We see what it could be. So she like rebuffs him. She's like, I'm not even that even hungry, and I don't want to have sex with you. And she goes into the room, and he just like stands like, while Frank's incel podcast is like,
also, I wish I had listened more to, because I think
he was saying.
to what he was saying while she was cleaning and stuff. Oh, this is just,
I was listening. Yeah.
I wasn't like listening to his words really. And like when Harry was like listening to the pod and like I don't even remember what Frank was talking about. Like I wish I kind of listened a little bit more, because I'm like curious about like what inundated him, or like
But
what clip they chose to play that to like get him hooked. I guess he was already hooked.
The things that he kept repeating the same thing, like, we're pushing towards the future with you being involved, that we can like break our like human chains and become better people, or like something like
the
that.
life you deserve. So
yeah,
it was all like you deserve a woman who's gonna like,
right,
do
because
these
like
things
you have no
for
control
you.
of these things in the real life.
Yeah,
like you've been put at a disadvantage, so like you
right
deserve to,
like
right,
classic.
So Florence she gets electroshock therapy. They put her back in, I guess.
She seems like she's okay at first.
I don't know how long the treatment was, but they made her a welcome home banner. Everyone's like pretending like she did not just like lose her mind before, and like, and then the thing immediately comes undone. Like she goes for the one day, and they say the exact same thing to each other like they did the first day. So she's like, "Oh, I made a roast," and he's like, "Oh, let's have sex," and then that is the thing that she's like,
well, no, didn't he put on
it's
a
the
song?
Oh
yeah.
He put on a record.
It's the thing she's been. It's what the thing he's been humming the whole. No, he didn't.
Yeah, it was stuck in her head.
No,
he was humming a song.
Yes, while he was outside in his real body, right?
Yes, while they were outside, like while he was taking care of her, he would like hum this song over and over, which she had been humming throughout the whole movie. And she was like, I don't know, like what this song is. Like, can you tell me what it is? And she just like hummed it over and over. And he was about to put on a record, and while he was putting on the record for them to like fuck to, he starts like singing this song, and then she immediately was triggered. Yeah,
which
and
I'm like, sir, you just got her back. Why would you be doing things that will set her off? So she gets immediately set off. She's like, oh, I remember every single thing. And it flashes back to an even dirtier and scarier Harry, who is even worse looking than he was previously before. And a like strung out Florence Pugh on a bed with little things in her eyes, and you're like, haha, it's a simulation this whole entire time.
There's the magic solution,
you're
baby.
You're like, excuse me, what?
Yeah.
And
well,
he
don't
just
you
like
see him interview for the job first, or do you see her on the bed first?
Oh yeah, they like, and they talk about like, oh,
Who's your
previous
selected wife?
relationships.
Do
Yeah.
you have a
and
previous
Yeah, do you have a
relationship?
previous relationship? Yes,
Which
and that
is-
And he's
gives
like
you
taking
like
an
some
oath
of the
about
men
secrecy and
literally just
stuff.
like stole women
Yes.
from the street.
Which is why I believe fully that Violet was a woman stolen from the
Oh
street.
yeah,
Because her and
because
her
she
husband had no
escapes.
it's
chemistry.
like heavily
They seemed like
implied.
they seemed like they didn't know each other at all. And I was like, even though she only had 3 memories, it still did seem like they were like
Yeah.
Yeah.
connecting. And then he's like, is do you guys want to take it from here with the big after the big reveal and stuff?
Oh, sure. So, well, they like show him like taking this incel oath about like working at Victory and stuff, and then they show like a clip of him like at the door with his greasy ass hair and the flowers, like presumably about to tie Florence down and like log her in and shit. And then they have an argument like there because I think that like he knows, she knows, like she like has a breakdown. She kind of calls him on his shit and he like blows up at her and he's like, you're like gonna ruin everything I've worked for, like you're gonna ruin everything we've had. And so she's just like pissed. She's like, but I like had a life.
I literally
Like
was a doctor.
I was a doctor.
was-
Like I had one and like
I had
you took
friends
that
and
from me.
family.
Yeah, like you took that from me. And then I don't remember exactly. Maybe Emily, you remember. He's just like I don't remember what he like says to
He's
like
just
coax her in and like calm her down. He's just like apologize or he's like, yeah, I was shitty. I don't remember what he says.
he was just like crying and she
really.
like goes
It's just,
over
like-
to him and she's like he's like but I love you, and they have that little like I love you more or whatever thing. He's like I love
Yeah.
you and I'm so sorry, and they like are like hugging, but then he starts to like
Suffocate her,
crush her.
which also makes
Yeah,
no
in
sense.
the
What?
Wikipedia article it said strangle, but I'm pretty sure it was like around her
It was
waist
around
or
her
Yeah.
waist. She
squeezing
was
her.
like,
It was
he's
like
like-
very weird.
She's
and she
like,
was like, "You're crushing me. Stop."
yeah,
But also,
Jack,
like, why was
Jack.
he doing that? Like, was it on purpose?
I don't he wanted because
I think he
fu-
like lost control, right? Like, and he just
no,
It's
I
just like
fully
weird.
I fully think is because he was like, well, similar to losing control, he was like, well, if I can't have her in the simulation, then I'm gonna have to kill her, and I'm just gonna
right,
get another. I think he was like, I'm just gonna get another woman, and
right.
I'm just gonna
Yeah,
live out this
you're right.
fantasy with someone
Oh,
else.
interesting.
I
I
fully
didn't see
think that he
in
was
at
like, this is too much work, and he was just
No, I
gonna
think
kill
you're
her.
probably right.
I felt like he felt so deeply attached to her that, like, because he's willing to like do this insane thing to like have a happy relationship where he feels validated. I guess like at the end of the day, he was willing to like sacrifice her well-being. So maybe you're right. He was just like, well, that's the way the cookie crumbles, queen.
But like the only reason, because like at first you're just like, oh, this is a normal hug, but when she starts being like, you're crushing me, and he doesn't stop, then I'm like, oh, he's fully intending to kill her.
Yeah, you're probably right. And then
And
she grabs a glass tumbler, hits him on the head, and
he bleeds.
Harry dead. None of it makes sense. I like maybe it's a glitch of the simulation. We can chalk it up to that. She walks outside, or Bunny walks in, I think.
Yeah, because they're screaming.
Yeah.
They've heard
Oh,
screaming
yeah.
and like
So Bunny walks in. First of all, Florence has blood all over her fucking dress. From what?
she's wearing a white dress too.
Who knows? Bunny basically like gives her the lowdown about how she knew this was all a simulation, and the reason that she's there is because like her kids died, or she like
Which
doesn't,
I like
which came out of
doesn't make
nowhere,
any
no
sense.
backstory,
Because
blah blah blah.
she doesn't interact with her kids. Florence interacts with her
Much.
kids
We don't
more.
really see that.
No,
She's
and then
always like, they drive me insane. I can't believe I kind of don't want them. And you're like,
There's definitely sometimes you see her like lovingly watching them play or whatever.
like she's
like,
not
once or
actually
twice,
like
but
being
like
a
there's
mom.
not too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. And then she's like, you need to get the fuck out of here. Like, they're gonna kill you in real life.
which you're like,
That
oh,
was so
what?
confusing.
Yeah.
She was like, if the men die in the simulation, they die for real. They're gonna come kill your real body. I was like, why
Which-
wouldn't it just be that if she dies in the simulation,
Yeah.
she dies for real?
Which, yeah,
Because then they
'cause
try
they-
to kill her in the simulation.
Yeah.
It doesn't really make sense that they're coming for a real body. Because
Yeah.
how is she gonna get out of
I don't
that?
know.
that line,
So I
that
think
line
they just
makes,
like misstated that line. Like that
It was
line
so
was
poorly
bad.
phrased.
that
Yeah.
line makes it
Yeah.
seem like the women don't die if they die in the simulation.
Right, which
That's
is
what
like they
that line
do.
seems like.
Bad wording.
It was
Because
just bad
like,
wording. I'm assuming that like they just meant like for
Yeah.
both of them, it can be both ways. But since he died in real life. Now they're gonna. But like, why wouldn't they just kill her in the simulation and not
I
trying
think
to
that's
get
what
her
they
in
were
real life.
trying to do.
Also, why
Yeah,
does he
but-
die in real life?
Because he's linked to, I don't know. That doesn't make sense. It's a simulation.
Because like
so
when he gets hit over the head, it shows the greasy Harry, and he's like, ugh, and then that's it. You're like,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
And so
I guess the same way they can electroshock her real brain.
so she's walking out to like sunny, like, or maybe it's nighttime. No, it's like sunny, right?
No,
Yeah.
it's daytime, yeah.
All
And
the
I guess in
neighbors are
California,
out.
because the Wikipedia page says they're in
They're
California.
All the neighbors are out. And I'm sorry. First of all, like Bunny told Florence, "Get the fuck out of here!" Like
And she's
you're about
just
to get.
standing around.
She's just standing, moseying around the driveway. Like, girl, get in the car and go.
I was like, come on.
go, queen. And so, like, this is like alluding, like she's walking around with blood on her, like, and like this is presumably like alerting all of the women. By the way,
And the
you're in a
men.
simulation, and which doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, how are they going to see blood on her?
It's a
dress?
glitch.
Oh, how could I forget? You're so right.
Yeah,
babe.
that's basically what it was. The light bulbs, like,
Yeah, the light bulbs go.
exploding.
So
and like
true.
this is
So
why,
true,
and then
bestie.
to further my theory that Violet did not actually know her husband, because the husband was like, he said this wouldn't happen. This is
Yeah.
oh no, and he's like freaking out. And
Like,
Violet's
buddy,
like, who the hell
chill.
are you?
Yeah, like calm down. The pregnant woman
Kroll
gets
is
bugged
like,
up. I love this part. So Florence finally gets off her little reunion tour and gets in the car to fucking drive like Buddy told her a good 20 minutes ago. And Nick Kroll is like launching his body out the car, trying to get her to stop from driving. And it's just so random. Because
I fully thought she was gonna kill Nick Kroll's character. I was
I
like,
low-key
another
thought so.
man.
I was like, Nick Kroll dies. And it was just funny because I feel like Nick Kroll's whole role in the movie was just like being a little bit too much. And he was just like,
A little too
"Rah!"
into it.
Yeah.
Wait, also this we forgot to say, this is also when Bunny admits that her kids are not real. This is also when you
we said
realize
that.
the pregnant wife
Oh, yeah,
is
'cause
not really
she's-
pregnant.
Right. She's
And
in
you're
the
like,
simulation.
dear Lord,
pregnant.
what's
How's that
going
baby
on?
not fucking dead, brother? Because like they said, if she's pregnant in real life, she's pregnant in the simulation. Or if you're
Is that
logged
what
in.
they said?
Yeah. Or
No.
that's what I thought about a theory or a theory. sorry.
No. The kids aren't real at all. Like, there's no children in
But the
real life
reason
children
she's
involved.
but the reason she's pregnant is because like when he like put her in the simulation, she was pregnant. Like she's never gonna have the
I didn't
kid.
think so. I
I
just
think that that's
assume
what
that
it
like
is.
if you can have fake babies, you can have fake.
But she never has the
This
kid.
is-
They've talked about that like a million times. So that doesn't.
They
What do you
always talk
mean?
about how she's
They always talk about how she's pregnant and she never has the kid. They talked about that.
Oh, I didn't pick up on
But
that. I
also
just
that
figured the
implies
movie
that-
didn't happen over that long a period of time.
That
No, they
also
were like,
implies
she's always
that
pregnant.
when-
She's never like she's.
Oh, you think they would have questioned that a whole lot more if that
Yeah,
was
they're just
when-
like she's pregnant.
when
That's
Margaret
weird.
is like, when Margaret goes in and loses her child, that's because her child's not real. But instead of saying, hey guys, my child's not real, she's just been like, everything's a lie. I think I would have been like, hey, so when they took my child away, it wasn't because he died, it's because he literally
Well,
was not
yeah.
real.
I feel like Margaret didn't like know the
Know
whole
that?
story.
I don't think
like
she
similar to
understood
how
'cause
when
she was like, they
Florence
took him and
went out and
punished
came back
you.
in.
Yeah.
Like Florence went out, came back in, didn't know what was going on. Still, I think
This is why
was the
Margaret's
same.
character could have been explored, because like,
Yeah.
what did she do?
That would've
Why
been
did she?
nice, yeah.
They also didn't say why she took her child and walked into the desert. Because I forgot
Nah.
that happened. They were just like, yeah, she just took that baby into the desert for no
I
reason.
think
like,
she also saw something like a plane crash or something.
Yeah, I feel like she must have been lured there somehow. But it's still
But, yeah.
weird. It doesn't really make sense. Anyway, so she gets in the car. They
Mhm.
have an elaborate car chase. While they're having this car chase, Frank is getting alerted to this stuff, and they're like telling him the updates. He's like telling people to go after her and stop her or whatever.
But he's, like,
we forgot
not
to mention he's not panicked at all, really. at the
yeah,
beginning.
he's like vibing.
We need to mention this because we forgot at the dinner. Gemma Chan has no role in this movie besides creepy dance class, buy my
And being
husband a
hot.
stripper, and being hot. At the dinner party that Florence throws where she like confronts Chris Pine, Gemma Chan randomly has this emotional outburst where she's like, "You're disrespecting my husband, darn. I won't be here any longer." So we don't really need to like go that deep into the chase, I feel like, because at the end
Yeah, the chase just
like,
happened.
chase scene happened.
It's implied that she escapes.
It's implied she escapes.
The
She
doctor
gets to the headquarters.
dies.
Yeah. They like cars run into each other, they explode. She touches the mirror, and then we like hear it's a black screen, we hear breathing. So it's implied she like wakes up at home. But
Yeah.
what?
She gets out of her restraints. We don't know, but that's a
Who
story for
knows?
another movie.
Are there a red jump shooted man standing above her being like, time to die?
Who knows?
Who knows? Is Harry's dead body sleeping beside her?
Yeah, well, not
Presumably.
sleeping. His dead corpse
he's
is
dead.
lying beside her. Anyway, so Frank's like not panicked. He's getting these updates, blah, blah, blah. He starts to get like increasingly more panicked, like the further in the desert she goes, and like when people die and the cars are exploding or whatever.
The doctor is dead.
When the doctor dies. So he's like wandering around his little kitchen and he's like trying to figure out what to do. And he like Gemma Chan is standing near him and he turns around and all of a sudden Gemma Chan's there with a knife, stabs him, and then
What did she say?
She says,
was
it's
like,
my turn now.
Which
So, like,
implies
what
that
did she know?
He also that to me implies that she knew what was going on, and so the whole entire movie after that, I was like, "Is Gemma Chan just going to be standing in front of the mirror, being like, you are not allowed to leave, Florence?" So I was shocked that Florence was able to escape after all of that.
But also, what the fuck does that mean? Because there's two thought patterns that came in my head. Either one, she like it could be like the Wikipedia entry where she's like sick of his abuse and like no like really figures out the depth of what's happening and like wants to leave, like wants to have her freedom, wants to leave, like it's her turn to do that. Or the other plot line is she randomly wants to now be the like leader of Victory. But why the fuck would she do that? That makes no sense. Well, that's what people are saying.
I don't think that's what.
But like, how does she not know the depth of this if she's with Frank? Also,
yeah, maybe. My thought was like
neither of them makes sense to me.
Like similar to Florence, like she probably had some suspicions, thought something weird was going on, but like took the path of like denying everything's fine, shut up about it.
This is the other thing
like
about
Florence's whatever Florence was doing clearly caused like at least the woman in her neighborhood to figure it out suddenly.
But this
so
is
I
like
assume that happened to all the women.
But why does that happen? That's the other thing. Like she like she hears radio, like they're not talking about like this is what happened. Like they're just like she's in the car, she's driving. Now Gemma Chan is like, wow, he's been abusing me and I'm in a simulation.
See, that's why it fully
no sense.
This is why I fully think that she knew what was going on, saw the chaos that Frank unfolded, and was like I enjoyed. I was like, literally, I enjoy living in my simulation house with my simulation husband, giving him simulation strippers. And it was like, you're ruining that. And then she killed. So that's what I thought. It's my turn now. Which is why I was like,
what a fucking cheesy ass line.
But like,
Gemma Chan is a good ass actor.
Shut this shit down.
Exactly. So that's
my
why.
Turn now.
That's why I thought.
Gemma
if it's a
Chan
simulation,
should be offended that they wasted her talent on that corny ass line. Sorry.
That's why I was like, because during the radio, she was looking concerned, but not because she was like, oh no, something's wrong with Florence. It's because like this girl is gonna ruin everything that we've worked for.
But I didn't think it was like. But that's why it was like weird because she like never really like. I guess you're right. Like she liked her sim life. But it's just weird. It was just like a weird.
It's also weird because the last scene we saw them in, she was defending him to the point where she got so upset she had to leave and slap.
And now she's like, time to kill him.
Maybe she knew something.
But the thing is, like, it just felt like a cop out. That whole scene felt like a cop out to kill Frank so that Florence could escape. Like, I just like it was so unsatisfying. That plot line came out of nowhere. Like all of a sudden, Gemma Chan's like thirsting for her husband's blood, which would have been such a cool, badass reveal if it had been done just a little bit better. Like
if there were scenes of her showing that she did not like the way her husband was running things or anything, but she was blindly loyal to him until
the whole
she
time,
stabbed
and
him.
all of a sudden she stabs him. Like, huh? Oh, so now Florence is good, which is like, as a viewer, you're like, okay, great, because you want Alice to escape.
Except for me, I was like, Gemma Chan's gonna jump out and be in a car soon. I didn't think of
that at all.
Chasing her,
I was just so like, that was the weirdest shit I've ever seen. I was like, hopefully Florence makes it out. But like, it was just such a weird cop-out way to get rid of Frank. And like, it could have been really cool, I think, if they had really thought of that's the whole movie though.
But it's weird because also Frank has been again shown as this like enigmatic, like kind of holier than thou figure, and he just gets randomly stabbed at the end of in the 5 minutes
now.
and he's not even stabbed by like the main character. He's stabbed by his wife again, who's shown no sort of like disloyalty this whole entire time.
Has not given
So you're like,
fucks.
hello, what?
Hello?
And what's going on? And then so I'm like, okay. And also before Florence touches the mirror, she's standing listening to Harry being like, I love you, don't leave. And I'm like, this man forced you into the simulation. Please leave and touch this
Also,
mirror.
he's dead, so it doesn't really matter what she thinks.
But
also,
he yelled.
Like, the cycle of abuse, it's like, you know, easier said than done. But yeah, like considering all the circumstances, like
I
get
think
the fuck
mostly
out
I was
here.
like, he's dead. They said that he's dead. You need to touch this.
They're gonna kill your real body.
The men in the red jumpsuit, which again, I'm like, does it even matter if she gets out of the simulation because the men in the red jumpsuits are just standing over her body?
I think we have to assume that Olivia Wilde's line was poorly written, and when she said that, she meant like they're gonna kill you here, and that will kill your real body.
Yeah, but that's what I was thinking.
I agree because I also was confused.
That's what I thought. I'm like, people are on the fucking way, and I was like, why aren't they showing us? Because they were like have shown us glimpses of real life, so I thought they were gonna show us that, and then I was like,
yeah, no, because I think Chris Pine said something like about how they don't know where they are physically, which is also crazy.
Which makes
like,
no sense.
Wouldn't you be able to figure it out? Like Harry's been paying you all the time.
My
like,
cult would be better, guys. So stay tuned.
You would have planned it better. Yeah.
My cult's built different.
Okay, so I know this is pretty long already, but I want to talk about how there are like Bunny was consensually sent in here. Why was everyone else not? Like, could they not find more people that wanted to actually be placed in the simulation, or they just all had to find women that did not?
Think the whole thing is like female, and not
yeah.
So why was Bunny?
Almost feel like
in her
I
family?
Almost feel like Bunny and Nick would have had to lie about the fact that she knew. Like he probably had to pretend like he was kidnapping her into it.
I agree,
because I feel like the whole premise was based on like none of the women can know what's going on, or like that would be like a security risk. So,
right? Like it's men's work
to be like
blah blah blah. Like this is like what we deserve. Like we're moving forward and bringing things back to like.
But they have should be. I'm sure they will have a whole like if they just let women, because I'm sure there's women who want to be like that. Just be a 50s
I want to go to there consensually.
Yeah, like
take me there.
I'm sure they have a whole.
But it wouldn't be like
people.
They're chosen. But that's the thing. It's like their mentality is I deserve like this specific woman to like wait on me. So like this is the woman. Like it was like what's your selected wife.
Yeah, I know.
So they
I understand. I'm just saying.
But like again, if it was yours, you could have people consensually going in.
Yeah, it would be a consensual cult. Everyone had the chance to leave if they want to. No one has to stay.
Right. Also, like
sounds nice.
We surely could figure out a way to like do it without having to like be strapped up, fucking like animals in our beds sweating like we're at a hospital. Like surely there's a better way for us to navigate that, right?
It must smell in that room.
And you know Harry Styles isn't doing shit. He's not cleaning the house. He's just going to his shitty ass he's not washing himself. He's going to his shitty ass job, coming home, logging on to fuck his hot wife, and then like going back to work.
It doesn't make it literally makes no sense to me why his appearance. I know it does. Because that's just how he just so desperately wants to be in that simulation.
It's a symbol of him not caring either.
Yeah.
Like not caring
just like not caring about the real world.
Yeah, well, not caring anything like about his like own relationship. Like he like there are fixes like, okay, like your wife is overworked, you don't have a job, okay, like your sex life's not prosperous. Like, okay, if he was like a rational human being, he would find ways to like work through those problems and then like improve the relationship. But Jack is like so unwilling to do that work on his own. His like most rational solution is to kidnap his wife and log on to Victory, because instead of changing himself or like working on himself, like that would be crazy. I'm not gonna log my wife onto this simulation.
Not just kidnapping his wife, fully strapping her down, having to take care of her body and maintain it enough so she doesn't die.
Yeah.
and then log on to victory like it's nothing. The idea that like I was literally just shocked and amazed that that's how this movie just ended. I was like,
Yeah.
that's it? That's
Yep.
all we're getting?
It felt very
Nothing else?
unsatisfying. Yep. It was like, huh,
Dude,
that's
what do you have
it?
to say?
Soupy. Should we rate it? It's been so long. We have to I really wanted to talk about the drama too, but we just can't.
There's no time.
We don't have time. It'll be like 10 hours. But there was one thing I wanted to say that I saw TikTok about how Just Keep Driving, that song by Harry Styles, is about Don't Worry, Darling. So you should go listen and think if
Huh.
you agree or not. 'Cause
Interesting.
it's like
I will do that.
it's very interesting, I
I
think,
do
to
like
go
that
back.
song.
It could be. It could be.
Wait, there's one thing that I wanted to mention before we get off. I forgot. I have. Wow.
Well,
Go on with the rating, and
we
then
can rate and we'll come back to you. Soup and Emily, what's your rating?
What is it out of 5 or 10? I forget.
10.
and then
All right, I will give it a 6 out of 10 dancing ladies.
dang, Dancing Ladies is gonna be mine.
Because I would give it like like 5 for like filling all the plot holes, but I'd give it like an 8 for like I was entertained, and I would give it a 9 for like it was shot beautifully and the music was
True.
good and the actors were great, -1 for some of Harry's work.
Sorry.
Maybe that one I'll average out to like a 7. But you know, we gotta split it up because there were different things that were good about it.
So true.
I remember what I was gonna say.
Okay, well, what was it?
It was I've already seen like Harry like Jack fan fiction. When I was like, did you guys not watch the same movie? The man kidnapped his wife and put him in a simulation. That man is not good.
Frightening how much
we
people
don't like him.
They're
Only-
standing up
We
for
don't
him.
celebrate him.
They're like,
Only
yeah,
because
what he did was bad, but and I'm like,
only because also he was acted by Harry. I feel like a lot of
Deadass.
Harry stans can't separate that Harry was playing a character and the character was bad. So anytime you're like, no, Jack is bad,
That's
they're
disturbing.
like, how could you say that about Harry? And I'm like, no, that's not what I said.
Like,
I said
it is
Jack.
it's frightening that they don't have
Yeah.
like the ability to discern that, and like there are so many people standing up for him, and Jack fan fiction.
Jack and Reader
We're
fan
not gonna
fiction.
be doing that.
You can
No,
place
thank
yourself
you.
right into Florence Pugh's shoes if you want to.
No,
I want to be in
thanks.
Harry Styles' shoes, except for it's a consensual relationship. In
I guess it would be Nick Kroll's shoes then.
No, I want to be in Harry's shoes so I can be with Florence Pugh.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. I will give it a 5 Nick Krolls out of 10 because it was really entertaining. Like I left like with that post movie high of like, whoa, that was actually like not bad. But then the more I thought about it, I was like, oh, it was actually like, but it wasn't bad. Like Emily was saying, like they had really good cast, amazing like cinematography and amazing soundtrack. Just like I wish, like it just is the frustration of knowing that it could have been done better. Like they could have had that same like setup, even with Harry, honestly, and just like did a little bit more and it could have been really good. I think that's what got me. So I'll give it a 5.
Yeah, I think I'm also gonna give it a 5 out of 10. Red Airplanes.
Oh, yeah.
Like I also think I left the movie being like, I was a little disappointed about the like twist because I like psychological thrillers and I like figuring it out. But I was like, there's some things that I wanted more like answers and everything. And I talked about it with my mom. I talked about it with Emma and Emily. So I finally got to like, oh yeah, that movie was like decent, but I wouldn't say it's the best movie I've ever seen. I also feel like psychological thrillers are supposed to make you like anxious and a little like kind of unnerving, and there was only some parts of that movie that I was like unnerved by, And that was mostly
Yeah.
when Florence was doing her acting without anyone else.
She
Like,
carried.
and a little bit of Chris
Carried.
Pine.
And
So
Chris
like
Pine
when
was very
Florence
chilling.
was like wrapping her face up with the saran wrap, I was like, I'm unnerved and I really wish she would stop. But like anytime Harry was on the scene, I was just like, okay. I also thought, even though
Yeah.
we don't want to talk about this, the whole entire time I was like, Shia LaBeouf was supposed to play this role. And
Deadass,
that's
yep.
the only thing was thinking about. Like, which is not supposed to be.
He
what
sucks so hard. But I
Yeah.
do think that an actor with like him would have shifted the tone a lot. I agree.
It would have been much different. Much
Yeah.
different movie. Yeah.
But all right, well, I feel like we'll just do these when we feel inspired. We're not gonna
Yeah.
hold ourselves
Yeah.
to like
We're
a
not
set thing, but
schedules. Maybe
Special
because
editions
Christmas.
only.
Yeah, maybe because
Yeah.
Christmas is coming. We might
Yeah,
do
we
a
might do some
Christmas one or
I'm
Christmas
two.
movies.
sure.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
we'll
sure
for sure do
love a
some
good
Christmas movies. Maybe like a Halloween. No, October's busy. We'll see. We'll like. I feel like it'll be good for us to not put pressure on it, but
Yeah,
we did feel inspired by "Don't Worry, Darling" enough, where we were
Mhm.
like,
because we all
must-
saw it around the same time.
Yeah, I do think that's like also just with the rise of going back to theaters and stuff, where like that's more of a thing. I don't know. So it was like, oh wow,
Yeah.
we all need to debrief. But I feel like a
Insane
weight's been
times.
lifting. You know, don't
Yeah,
worry,
we
darling.
really tore that movie apart this
As
last
we
hour and a
should.
half.
2 full hours.
We really,
Oh my
yeah.
god, what time is it?
9:30.
9:30.
We need to go. We need to go.
If anyone
Okay.
has listened to this long,
Thank
We love
you.
you.
you're our best friends. Thank you.
And we'll see you next time.
And that was
Oh, what
what
did
did
we
we
just
just
watch?
watch?
Oh.